Hey everyone, and welcome to Quarantine in the Multiverse, potentially for the last ever time. This is our short, limited run podcast to fill in the gaps between comic books coming out, because this is usually a DC Comics podcast called Comics from the Multiverse. But joining me here today, because I'm Peter, of course, and joining me is Matt.
Hey, what's up?
And Connor's here too.
Yeah. Still not getting rid of me.
Yes, as try as I might.
He does.
No matter how much we quarantine, Connor just hangs around.
Yeah. So this is normally Comics from the Multiverse. Our final week here of quarantine. We'll do kind of what we've been doing before. We'll talk about what movies we've been watching, wrestling, what comics we've been reading. For the main event before that, though, I have made another quiz, although this one has different rounds to shake it up a little bit, so it's not all just comics. But it's fun stuff. We'll see who wins. And
I'll know the fix is in if there's a whole Twin Peaks category.
Well, interesting you say that, Matt, because the first and last couple of rounds are for both of you, but there is a couple of little short rounds in the middle that are one's just for Matt and one's just for Connor. So,
So sick of quizzes. I never want to see another quiz in my life.
Hey, look,
Connor's like, I graduated from college. I thought I was done with quizzes.
quizzes are fun if they're about stuff you like. No?
You're not the one doing the quizzes.
I feel like you might like it more if you weren't losing.
No, it's just I generally get bored of quizzes quite quickly.
He's on a loser streak. I mean, the people like it. This has been the most favourite part of the show since we've had no comics, so buckle in. Before we start, though, so, I mean, I don't think there's any DC news. I mean, I know there was release lists for the end of May, but I mean, we can talk about those the week before they hit. But we do have... Oh, did we talk about that last week? We might have talked about that last week.
I think...
But they actually put dates on these now.
Yeah.
That weren't there last week, where we kind of heard, but I remember Basketball had 7.
Yeah,
Is in
Yeah,
one
I
of
mean,
those
I've got it
batches.
here if you want to just run through it real quick.
sure,
Because
okay.
it's starting to look like it's getting to a more normal amount. So
It's
May
closer.
19th,
Yeah,
which
it's
is,
closer.
again, still Tuesdays, has Deceased Unkillables, issue 3, Dollhouse Family 6, Flash Giant 4, Plunge 3, Jimmy Olsen 10, Red Hood Outlaw 45, Wonder Woman 755, and a third printing of Year of the Villain Hell Arisen 3.
Yeah, which is good, which means I can finally get my copy.
I was going to say, who still needs that? And
I mean,
it's Matt.
Me! I'll take any printing because I just need it in my collection.
I wasn't expecting... Oh, I just noticed OBS. I must have got a new update because there's a little red light next to the record now. I like that. It tells me that it's...
You record. Does this mean this should avoid all the times where you go, oh shit, I wasn't recording for 20 minutes?
It's really obvious that I'm recording. There's a little red light. You can see it there at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's nice. Anyway, I was going to say, I wasn't expecting you to tell me the reprints. I was just expecting the new comics.
I mean, it's all in the same list, so I got to the end and then realised it was a third printing after I'd kind of...
see. Yeah. I'm used to reading off the diamond list to skip these ones sort of on autopilot.
Yeah. Then May 26th, this is actually a much more meaty week as well, because there's still that's not a huge week.
There's still some noble omissions though, because there's no Batman in any of these weeks. That's coming in June.
That is coming the first week of June.
We've had that on Twitter, but
was the diamond list that isn't finalized, but looks like it should be there.
But notably, there's still absences from these couple of weeks where it's been a while since we had this, because there's no Strange Adventures, for example. I don't think, is there?
No.
Yeah.
So what we've got on the 26th is Aquaman 59, Basketball Ahead 7, Batman Beyond 43, Books of Magic 19, Flash 754, He-Man Master of the Universe, Multiverse, 6, Justice League 45, Lolo Woods issue 5, Suicide Squad 5, Teen Titans 41, The Terrifics 27, and a couple of Giants.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, we got some books. Obviously, it's clearly coming weekly. Marvel even announced their return dates. They're starting at the end of May 27th. Although they're skipping a week after that before they do the next week. But
no, they're skipping every other week essentially. So Marvel have put up their list between the end of May and like middle of July, and what they're doing is 1 week of new books, and then the second week is trades, and then new issues, and then trades.
Well, I was going to say, because there is stuff scheduled technically for the week after the second week, but yeah, it's just trades. If you look at comics list, which I look at sometimes for the extended forecast, that's what they've got up just now. So Marvel have got books coming back as well, so it does feel like we're getting to some kind of normality with comic books. But there is some more interesting news, at least for some of our audience. This doesn't affect the US folk or anyone outside of Europe, or I'm not even sure if this applies to mainland Europe, to be honest.
It hasn't done yet. They might do just to bring it into parity.
Let me say what it is first before you add details on.
I'll just tell you what it hasn't.
Right. So, and the reason why I'm saying it's weird that it's not affected Europe, because the original part of this did affect Europe. So you may remember about a month or two ago, all the prices for digital comics in Europe went up significantly. Like, not just a little bit, they went up, they skyrocketed. Well, the good news is for people in the UK is that just today they've officially went back down in price, not to where they were before. That was never going to happen, but the parity with physical books, give or take, depending on where and how you get them, because obviously that varies wildly in the UK. It's not like the US where everything's $3.99. It varies from shop to shop, mail order service to mail service. They're now cheaper than pretty much everywhere physically, especially once you include postage for the mail order stuff. I know some mail order stuff, the books themselves are technically still cheaper, but once you include postage, it actually puts them over.
I think it depends on which mail order service you use. If you get one of the cheap ones and order in a reasonable sized order, when they combine the postage.
Yes, technically, if you only get your comics delivered like once a month, you can maybe save a little on the postage to put it back down under. But most people who really care about their comics want them weekly. So
no, it's true. But even those, there are some people who order enough books weekly that it still works out cheaper.
That said, that is only the mail order services. If you're going into a store, which admittedly you can't do right now, but the prices for going into a store and buying a comic, it is now cheaper again to buy them digitally. Because $3.99 comics on Comixology for UK are now $3.19, which is still a big chunk more than what it was before, but it's much less than what the newer price was at $3.99. It actually halves what the increase was, pretty much, give or take, which is pretty good. The reason for this, of course, is that the VAT, which was something that books in the UK don't pay on, which is the sales tax, essentially, just to translate it for other people. The sales tax didn't apply to books. They were always exempt from sales tax, but digital books were not exempt. However, that has now changed, and no longer do they have to pay for tax on them. And what's interesting, though, because I was worried that this was just because of the virus, right? That they were just doing a temporary thing because of the virus. Luckily, when I looked into this earlier today, this was happening later this year anyway, and the virus has simply made them fast-track it because people will benefit from it earlier during their time of need. So the good news is that this is permanent, and this new price of $3.19 for a $3.99 comic in the UK is going to hold, at least until they decide to put the price up for whatever other reason. But given that they just put them up, it's probably holding for a while.
Yeah, this is a reasonable price. I think I'm quite cynical still about the motivation of the pricing, knowing that this was coming later in the year, and Amazon and Comixology as companies will have known this was coming. I suspect they increased them so that when this came into effect and they lowered it, they could look like the good guys again. Like, oh, hey, you know.
Do you know, you say that you're being cynical thinking that. I actually think that's quite smart. Now, admittedly, I wouldn't have put it up as early as this, but if you look at it this way, right, they know the price is going to have to, let me, there's a key detail in here that I need to say why I think this is smart. The pound versus the dollar has been plummeting for the last several years, right? Ever since
about
2016.
4 years, yeah.
2016. Ever since Brexit sort of happened or started to happen, there's
pretty much since the day after that vote.
Yeah, the pound has plummeted, and we have been lucky in that they've not raised their prices when they should have. Everything else did. Physical comic books shops did raise their prices. Every other thing under the sun has raised their prices in the last 4 years to accommodate this price difference. The exchange rate difference, right? The value of the pound. So they were overdue putting the prices up. And I think it is quite smart to do it around the same time as the VAT going away, because it kind of nullifies some of the increase, right? Now, should they have done it this early compared to when the increase was going to happen, or the VAT decrease was going to happen? Yeah, okay, it was a bit early. But part of me thinks from a strategic point of view, this made sense. I
get what you come from. I'm going to disagree slightly on where you say that it was too early. I think they did it early. They weren't anticipating it happening, right now.
This quickly.
They thought they had another, 4 or 5 months, with the idea being everyone will have gotten used to this price by then, and then it'll seem like a price cut. Whereas right now, it still feels like, well, I mean, it's still more than it was 2 months ago, even though it's better. So I think that's actually just unfortunate for them that it happened so soon after they raised it.
Honestly, I'm pretty happy with this new price. I mean, obviously, cheaper's better. I missed the old price. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it was better. Like, I'm not going to debate that.
Honestly, the next on my shit list in terms of Comixology is down to DC's current sale pricing. Sort it out, DC. Go back to what you were doing before.
I think that's just changed for good. I don't think you're getting that back.
No, it's
but
terrible.
From the looks of it, what used to be $3.99 in a regular sale is now like $4.50 something, and then it goes up from there, seemingly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are $6 books when they're in sale.
Yeah.
Used to be £4 for us, and is now about $4.50 odd, as opposed to 2 days ago where it was £6.
Yeah, and of course the alternative here is that DC though don't have that consistent sales price across the board now. Now they do it more like Marvel, where the size of the page count essentially dictates what the sales price is. So a lot of the bigger books are much more expensive still. Honestly, the value for what's there is quite good. The way I look at this is that we were kind of like getting away with highway robbery for several years, and they've just decided to stop letting us away with it. And this is very similar to Steam video games, in which for years their sale prices for big games was ridiculous. And now we've kind of gotten used to it not being as good, but still obviously very fair from a value perspective. So it sucks because we're used to it being great, but...
Yeah, it means I won't impulse buy things yet.
As
like
much.
Right now.
You're going to get used to it, though. Eventually,
no, I will.
This will feel fine.
My only little glimmer of hope, the moment where I will truly accept this is it and I'm crushed and just buy them at whatever price they're on sale for, is November, when it gets to the Black Friday sale, where they did, the huge line wide, everything was even cheaper because it was, instead of $3.99, things went down to $2.99. That was for the last 2 years I've done that. It was a great sale.
For argument's sake, that new super low price at Black Friday is £4 per book, and that's the now the bottom. Like, that ain't that bad.
No, it's not. But I mean, if everything goes down to that, because that's what they did in those Black Friday sales. Everything went down to the $2.99 instead of $3.99.
I don't know if they will though. I can see the bigger ones, those bigger trades that are normally at £20+. I can see them being more like $8 during that sale.
I can as well, but this is what I'm saying. That's the moment where my hope will just be crushed, and that's it. I'll just accept that this is the sale price.
Yeah, this is what comics cost now. We just have to live with it.
Yeah. Until then, I will be like, I mean, I'll buy if I really want it. Otherwise, I'll just read it on DC Universe.
There's stuff I know that I'm wanting because we're going to do it in previously or whatever, or I'm buying Marvel trades just now. And there's still
you don't read Marvel trades.
I was reading a Marvel trade today. I'll talk about that later.
It only took till the last episode of Quarantine for him to read something.
Do you know what it is? I think finally having dates for both companies coming back has put me in a comics mood. It's made me realise that I missed them, and I'm like, give me some comics. Also,
mind you, I've been like a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
Taking in comics.
The fact that I got a new computer monitor this week that's a higher resolution, and my comics now look amazing on it, is also a bit of a factor.
It's so weird to me. You guys rate on
it's so good, man. If you got a high resolution.
I'm with you because I used to read. I have a 10-inch tablet, and it's a reasonable quality. I used to read on that, and that was a good reading experience. But once I got a proper sized screen at the desktop, that didn't feel like I was compromising for a comic.
Yeah, but here's the thing: I like to sit on my couch and prop up with my tablet when I'm reading.
I do too sometimes. But here's the thing: is that one of the things I hate about digital comics is 2-page spreads. I hate that it's smaller, or I have to zoom in, or I have to tilt the thing.
Hate to rotate the page.
No, but I don't hate it because of the activity of it. I hate it because everything's smaller, right? What I love about reading on a proper monitor that's a decent resolution, because 1080p is okay for it, because I've done it in 1080p for a long time when I'm in the mood for it, but I noticed the quality is definitely less than my tablet. Doing it on a 1440p monitor is like, oh wait, this looks better than the tablet. This is a higher resolution.
That was the experience I had a few months ago.
So if you've got a 1440p or 4K monitor that's at least 27 inches big for the height of the comic page, I think you're going to have a good experience. Because the great thing is that when you get to a 2-page spread now, it just gets wider. It feels like an actual bigger page, and I love that experience.
Yeah, I can completely back you up on this. I still read on my tablet usually. I read on my tablet in bed usually. That's because I can't read on the computer in bed. Obviously.
No, I mean, there's nothing quite like the feeling of, it's time for bed when you drop
Yeah.
the tablet on your face.
I have literally got like the corner of my tablet chipped off
Yep.
just from it falling out of my hand and falling onto the floor and like hitting like the bed frame on the way down.
Yeah.
Paige hates me. It wakes her up all the time.
So so comics have backed down in price in digital in the UK, not to what they were, but much more reasonable. And given that even though the comics are coming back, the shipments to the UK are not looking super hopeful. It means that it's not as ridiculously expensive to keep up with your comics in the meantime. So brace yourselves, basically. So that's the good news. Before we go on to the quiz, I do want to take a minute here because our friend Tim, who's on Screams After Midnight, the horror movie podcast that I do with him, he asked me to promote an Indiegogo campaign for a comic collection that he's got a story in. And most notably, though, this isn't just a profit thing. This is actually for charity. This is actually going to the benefit for those affected by the current crisis. I'll just say, because I can't see it on YouTube.
Yep.
So this is called Housebound, a comics anthology on Indiegogo. I'll make sure to put a link in the description, but you can go to Indiegogo and search Housebound and you'll find it. There's a bunch of animals in the image, along with a couple of humans, but the animals are more notable. So this is an anthology. It's run by Ryan Burke and Alex Dandino, but our friend Tim does have a story in there. So, if you want to support a comic book for some indie creators, but also have the money go towards a good cause, then you can do it via comics. So, go and have a look.
Yeah.
Matt just disappeared. Where did Matt go?
I think he got a phone call.
Ah.
I'm assuming it's the wife about what he was doing before the show started.
Matt's having tech issues with a TV, and he's fighting with customer service people.
I'll kill some time. DC announced, their digital first lines that they've been doing. They've got actual names for each day to help you remember what comics on them, and some of them are quite smart. So it's Metropolis Monday is the Superman one.
Okay.
Batman Tuesday is just whatever. But that's the only one that really sticks out. Bear with me on the rest of them. Wonder Woman Wednesday.
Okay.
Tidal Thursday.
Oh, for Aquaman?
Aquaman, yeah.
Okay.
Flash Friday.
That can make sense.
Saturday morning cartoons. So at the minute, that's the DC superhero girls.
All right.
And then Supernatural Sunday for your Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Batman Tuesday really sticks out.
It really sticks out, doesn't it?
just be kind of weird. We
can't work it out.
That's a bit of work to do with Batman. There is with a T that can be used.
I mean, if we can think of one, we'll suggest it to them. Viewers, you have a task.
I don't know.
No, me either. But I don't think they did either. They just screw it, Batman Tuesday. Because all the rest of them are reasonably decent. Yeah, they all work. But yeah, they gave up on that one.
Two-Face Tuesday? I don't know. Something I can think of.
Sure.
Tumblr Tuesday. There you go.
Yeah, you're pushing it there.
Hey, well, you don't have any.
No, I don't. Do you know, I was just seeing if there's any other news stories before we started, and I wasn't going to bother bringing it up, but now that we're waiting on that, that obviously DC have effectively ended the reign of Diamond's exclusivity.
Yes.
25 years to the day since it was announced.
That's interesting. I wasn't ever thought about that, but there was a lot of chatter this week on comics Twitter from retailers and stuff that Diamond, they're not really happy with how Diamond's handling things, to the point where some people who were complaining about DC's handling of things by going to someone else, for another printer, another distributor.
They understood why.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, maybe DC was right.
Yeah. So I remember. So sorry, I had to take an important call real quick.
We kill time, Matt. It's fine. There you go.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, are we on? Wait, are we on right now?
Yeah, we're on. Yeah, go.
Okay.
We're still live.
Gotcha. We're live. We'll do it live. So I've been watching these videos on YouTube of this helicopter pilot that's been going around LA, right, to show how empty it's been in this current, the thing that's going on. and I had to pause it, and which took a lot because this guy was going over to Disneyland, like, and just seeing empty Disneyland, to hear what people were saying about this Diamond live stream that they had done, and how now they fully understand why DC was like, yeah, I don't think we want to do business with these guys anymore. Just because the way that they were talking about it seemed like a lot of their ideas would have been great, 6 years ago. But now that it's been day and date comics, there needs to be an actual response to it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deal with it, and I fully understand, right? Like,
when just on this whole thing, we should talk about the biggest reason DC have moved to Tuesdays is to match with the bookstores, and it's not just for the delivery, because obviously these companies do book stuff anyway, but it's more that for marketing purposes, when they're releasing a new trade.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is up until now, you have to deal with 2 dates, because you get the direct market release, which is always about 2 weeks before the book market, which is when Amazon and all the other places get the books.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you are. I think in the US it's only about 6 days. They get them the following week. I think in the UK it's an extra week.
Which, just imagine how hard that is to market something. You can't really just say a date, because depending on where you're buying it, it's different.
Yeah, and I think they might still have that problem, but this will at least cut down in the US, which is their primary market. It will cut down from being, okay, well, we've got the Wednesday, which is where you can go buy it in your comic book store, but then you need to wait till the following Tuesday to buy it in, any bookstore or Amazon. Whereas now they can just say, nope, it's this date.
Yeah, it's one date. So
I mean, we'll still be a week behind in the UK, I assume, but there's no getting around that.
I've not bought a physical trade in a while, so I'm good. But
I'll say it was days like today, which was supposed to be Free Comic Book Day. That's when I would do the majority of my trade picking up.
I didn't even realize it was supposed to be Free
Comic
Comic Day.
Yeah, it was supposed to be today. So it's just, I get it, and I know there was some shops out there being like, well, who's going to show up at the shop twice a week? But I think, like, if you have a dedicated comic fan base, they're still just going to show up on Wednesdays.
What's so funny is I did see some retailers say that they don't like the idea of splitting their customers, where the DC people come in, and I'm kind of thinking about this in a couple of different. One, okay, even if that sounds mildly annoying, from a marketing standpoint, and then being able to market a book out on a date and actually be able to shout it from the rooftops because it'll match everywhere makes a lot of sense. It may actually help your customers. And two, like, doesn't that make your deliveries easier if you're getting half of them one day and half another day, rather than having to do the whole load in one day?
I will say, to be fair, in smaller stores with less staff, they maybe get an extra member of staff in on the delivery day to account for that and sort through it. And now they've got, okay, well, now we need staff on 2 days to cover that.
Or maybe because it's half, they don't need the extra person.
No, but let's say if it's only like a 3-person, who are in the store, you have one sorting out the delivery, one on the tills, and one doing whatever. Let's say that's your entire staff.
Okay, sure.
All 3 people both days now.
Yeah. Also, like, I remember before Diamond was sending them, the day before, however they do it now, the weekend before, my shop would get them the day that they're supposed to go, or the night before. And me, when I worked nights, I would show up as soon as the store would open. There'd be sometimes I'd go in and help them sort stuff out.
I know. My store.
So yeah.
Again, this might be slightly different with the UK. We get them to stores, generally speaking, as a rule, on the Tuesday, and my store will tend to have things out ready to go by about midday on Wednesday. They'll pull out customer orders, specific orders for first thing. Right. So if you come in, you can early before work, whatever, you can pick up your order. But the shelf is usually not ready till about midday.
Yeah. So, but I know when my shop started getting them earlier, that became less and less of a problem. They would also get impacted if there was a holiday here. So, like, a lot of our holidays line up on Monday. So then they would be late too. So they would be behind setting them out. That hasn't been as much of an issue in the last couple of years.
I mean, it's been since I went to a physical store, but when I went to Forbidden Planet, they did have the books out for 9 a.m. opening time on the Wednesday. So I guess it's more
Forbidden
staff.
Planet do, because they're a big chain with a lot of staff as a rule.
Yeah.
On Matt's point there about holidays, whenever we have a bank holiday on a Monday, Diamond UK do not work on that day. so they don't. So everything is pushed back a day, guaranteed for every comic book store in the country. New comic book day becomes the Thursday, not the Wednesday for those weeks.
Right.
Every single time, without fail.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
But anyway.
well, real quick though, I don't see how this would split your on. Like, I get like if people are physical only, but if they're used to getting them on Wednesdays, I don't understand how this would split them.
I know.
I guess
DC put out a statement saying, "Hey, if you guys want to put them out, if you want to hold until Wednesday and do them with the rest of the stuff, you can. There's no obligation to put them out on Tuesday. That's New Comic Book Day. You're allowed to sell them from Tuesday, but if you want to wait till Wednesday, you can."
I guess the concern is that someone who always comes in on Wednesday wanting new comics doesn't want to come in 2 days if they buy both Marvel and DC. And
Right.
obviously, we're saying, okay, we'll just wait till Wednesday and get everything then. But they're also of that mentality where, I have to have them day one. I want to read my comics.
I think also the concern from retailers is, let's say, a lot of our audience, probably a key example of this, who read predominantly DC.
Mm-hmm.
So you 90% of your books are DC. You go in, all right, you're going in on Tuesdays to pick up your DC books. Those new Marvel, Image, whatever else books aren't there for them to potentially upsell you.
Yeah, the ones that might grab your attention because they're there. And the only ones that will be there is whatever's left over from the week before, which for a lot of comic book stores will be only the biggest things that they'll shelf.
The scraps, so to speak.
So, yeah, there is that concern. Honestly, though, on the list of problems with the comic book industry, the idea of DC being a day early before everyone else is so low in the list of concerns, I think, that... Okay, I get it. It's mildly annoying for a couple of reasons, but I don't think it's the huge concern that a lot of other problems in the comic book industry are.
No, I'm with you. Like I said, DC said, hey, if you want to just hold your books till Wednesday, do that. Then there are people going, but then digital are before us. Yeah, one day, no one's switching to digital to read them on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday. If they're already paying for physical books and they want physical books, they're not switching for one day.
Yeah. So, yeah. So even though I get there's a couple of little things that are a pain about it, honestly, get used to it because this might actually improve things overall though. The actual net gain for this is for DC Comics as a complete printing company might actually be better.
Some interesting UK specific angles of this because we've only had comics on the Wednesday the same day for about 10 years or so. Before that we were on the Thursday. We were a day late. Just because of how the shipping was. And it wasn't until Diamond UK kind of sorted their shit out and got that sorted. But before that, there was something called the freight wars, where some shops would pay extra to ship it because obviously the American stores would get their things delivered on the Tuesday, and some UK stores would pay extra to get express delivery, ship me that immediately. We'll pay you your cut and whatever, and get them shipped to their store for the Wednesday, so that they could sell them on the Wednesday as well, and use that to get an advantage over other stores.
I assume they charged a bit more though to cover the cost of all this extra shipping.
Probably, yeah.
That said, this was back before comics were even regular $2.99, so I assume that by today's standards it probably seems quite cheap anyway. But at the time, it probably felt expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was kind of before day and date on digital as well, so it wasn't like that was just an option.
Yeah. Well, interesting. So,
I mean, the digital side of me though is like if there's gonna be books on Tuesday, and when I finally do get to go back to work, that'll make things a day easier.
Yeah, you got an extra day to read your comics for.
I got an extra day for the digital books, right? And also as I've learned in this, I think I'm gonna go predominantly digital. I think I'm gonna have to just, cut certain books that normally would have wanted.
Yeah. Do you know what's so funny about this, Matt? Is that I was about to start going more physical. I'd gotten a couple in, and then this happened. The crisis happened, right? And basically, I'm at the point now where I'm like, oh man, these books are so. But because they've put the prices back down to a more reasonable amount, it's still expensive than what it was before, but it's cheaper now than what physical will cost me still. And at this point, I'm like, I guess I'm just digital again completely because I mean, with the show every week, I kind of have to get the comics, I don't want to have a huge tab of books that I need to pick up.
I'm having to double dip on some stuff. They're like, there are books like I'm probably not going to read Flash anymore because that's coming back, and I'm like, I don't want to pay for that twice.
Yep.
You get that physically anyway?
Yeah, just out of habit.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I've had to learn is I had to do this before when Liddell was writing Superman, that I was always collecting Superman because I had to collect
Yeah.
Superman. And then even the guy at my shop goes, "You never have anything good to say about this book. Why are you spending money on it? I could recommend you for the same price something that you're going to like and you're not going to be constantly upset about."
Mhm.
So I just have to look as I like having the extra money and I like having the extra time, and I like being able to go back and like I was able to read Hawkeye and I'm reading Wolverine, and that's stuff that normally I wouldn't got to because I was reading Flash out of habit. You know, like I read plenty of DC books for the show.
Yeah.
You know, that would never be in doubt. But if I could read 2 or 3 less, I think that puts me in a better.
That's it. Like I was reading Flash because obviously I was enjoying it for a long time, and so I was getting physically from the start of the show. You know, since Rebirth. It wasn't as good lately. I was just kind of sticking it out out of habit, and whatever. I'll probably I'll pick up the issues that my shop has ordered, and then just be like, hey, just leave it there.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's the right thing to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not going to shortchange my shop, but I'm not going to pay for it twice.
Right, exactly. And so there's a number of books that I was just getting out of habit that I'm just gonna have to cut, and just read digitally. Like just convert those that I was reading physically. As much as I want to keep Batman going, I can just pick that up and trade later if I really want it and just read it digitally, and save space because I still have, boxes to put away in my garage, that I filled up 3 boxes, during this stuff that was sitting there. So.
There are one of the earliest books that I know because I've just read it on the list that is coming back that I get physically was Deceased Unkillables. You're damn right, I'll double dip on that one.
Right.
No problems.
Right.
So what's Tom Taylor book? Tom Taylor books are in their own special category, all right?
Yeah. Let's get on this so we can talk about some more Tom Taylor because I got a lot.
Oh, you got Tom Taylor for later? Oh my.
Yeah. I do.
All right. Well, yeah. In that case, we'll get into the quiz. I'm calling it the super quiz.
Ooh.
It's a terrible name. Unless it's all Superman related, in which case it's fun.
It's not all Superman related. No, it's a super quiz because it's bigger than the last quiz I did. It's got rounds. So we'll start with round 1. We'll do a quick little thing to see who goes first. So round 1 is DC Comics, right? It is relevant to everyone's interests. And there's 10 questions in this round. So we'll see. You can steal this as multiple choice, and so we'll just decide who's going first and then alternate. And you can steal if the other person gets it wrong. As we've been doing with these quizzes for the most part, and most of it's still the same. There's a couple of exceptions when it gets to obviously just specific, rounds for one of you, and then the final question, as it were, after all the regular rounds are done, is kind of there's no stealing involved. It's a very quick fire kind of just one question, but with multiple permutations. Anyway, so yes, who's going first then? I don't have like a coin or a dice in front of me. Car, do you want to do a random little
coin flip? Matt, pick.
Heads.
Is this to go first?
I don't know. It's tails.
All right, so Connor's going first.
All right. Okay. Well,
unless you want to defer, Connor. Unless you want to go second.
No, it's fine. I'll just take it. I don't really want to think about it. I'll just whatever.
Oh dear. All right then. So Connor's going first. Question 1. This is DC Comics round. Question 1. What is Darkseid's true name? Is it A, Uxas, B, Ixaya, C, Darkseid, or D, Kaio?
A.
That's correct. Right. Answer with some enthusiasm, alright?
The last one sounded like he said Kyle, and I was like, yeah, Darkseid's definitely a Kyle.
That was Kaio, or Kao maybe.
I was reading something with Darkseid.
The second one, Ixaya's Highfather's real name, for the record. That wasn't just pulled out of nowhere. Number 2, for Matt. First, according to the New 52, which of these teams was Martian Manhunter never a member? A, Justice League. B, Justice League of America. C, Justice League International. Or D, Justice League United.
A, the Justice League.
Nope, yeah. Actually, no. Car gets a chance. Car gets a chance.
I think it's international.
International is the correct answer. So
damn it.
I'll explain that because I actually asked because David gave me that question and I said, wait a minute, I don't remember Martian Manhunter being in Justice League.
There was a flashback as to
early on they say that he was a member and got kicked out because he betrayed them or something like that. So there was a
It
reference.
was in like
See-
issue 7 of John's
Yeah.
run or something like that.
See, I don't remember that. I do remember him being in the Justice League of America
because
And United for sure.
yeah,
and United for sure.
I
So-
specifically changed the phrasing of the question to make it
Mhm.
work because originally it was like which of these teams was he in the New 52, but technically he was never in Justice League in the New 52, but it was referenced, so I rephrased it to make it clear that
Right.
Anyway, number 3, Connor gets first crack. Connor's winning 2-0 right now,
I know.
so you can get that mopey look off his face. Oh, this is I love this question. This is right
That
up his
wasn't
alley.
even mopey. That was just a normal look.
Fix your resting mopey face then.
I can't. That's just how it is.
All right, so you'll love this. This is Connor's favorite character. Felicity Smoke made her first appearance in which comic? A. Green Arrow, B. Captain Atom, C. Legends of the Dark Knight, or D. The Fury of Firestorm.
Green Arrow seems too easy, so I'm gonna go with Legends of the Dark Knight.
That is incorrect, Matt. You've got a chance to steal it.
I'm gonna say D.
Fury of Firestorm.
Yep.
That is correct. I guess.
Boom.
I didn't realize Matt was such a Felissa fan.
I really enjoy Emily Beck Records, Richard, whatever her last name is. However, that character, early on she was great. Then they started the romance plot, and
She was a fine character in the first like 2 seasons.
Yeah. So just throw it away.
All right, number 4. Matt gets first crack. After Batman the Animated Series premiered on September 5th, 1995, how long did it take DC Comics to release the tie-in comic, The Batman Adventures? A. It was already out. B. 1 month. C. 3 months. Or D. 6 months.
Oh, I feel I should know this. Bruce Timm. Was it already out? I'm just going to throw the gamble that it was already out.
Incorrect. Connor, you've got a chance to steal.
I'm just gonna assume they were slow and go 6 months.
Incorrect. The answer was 1 month. It was 1 month later.
Gotcha.
So that's not bad synergy, I think. 1 month after the debut.
No, that's good.
So that was for number 5. Connor gets first crack. Sensation Comics started as a superhero comic in 1942 that introduced Wonder Woman, but in issue 107 it would shift to focus on which character? A. Sergeant Rock, B. Captain Comet, C. Congo Bill, or D. Johnny Pearl.
B.
Captain Comet is incorrect. Matt, you've got a chance to steal it.
I'm going to say I don't get to bring up Congo Bill enough. So I want to say it's C, but it also could be... It could also be Sergeant Rock, but I'm going to write Congo Bill.
The correct answer was Johnny Pearl.
I don't even know who that is.
Not
me
do
either.
I.
For the record, Congo Bill is an adventurer that came across a mystical totem that allows him to take the form of a gigantic golden gorilla.
No wonder Matt loves it.
I know.
I love him.
The only one there I ruled out was Sergeant Rock. It doesn't seem very sensation-y.
Yeah.
No, but you never know that if All Star Comics had stopped, which he was in, you know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, who Johnny Pearl is, but the word peril does certainly go wrong with the word sensation. You know,
Yeah.
he's in peril, so I can see it. Number 6, Matt gets first cracked. In the final issue of the Golden Age Green Lantern series, it didn't feature Alan Scott on the cover. Who was there instead? Is it A, the Justice Society, B, Streak the Wonder Dog, C, the Green Lantern Oath, or D, Superman and Batman?
It's the last of the Golden Age, which would put it in the 50s, right? So.
Sounds right.
Well, I mean, because Green Lantern premiered in 60 or 59 or 60.
Yeah.
Because Flash is 58. So I don't know when the last issue was. Should I just say Justice Society?
That is incorrect. Connor.
Damn.
Chance to steal.
I'm stuck in the paint.
I'll do the Batman Superman. I'll tell you the one that seems like it shouldn't be.
That is incorrect. The answer was Streak the Wonder Dog, which was Alan's dog. So that he was on the last.
I did not know that.
I was going to say, like, did the Oath exist before Hal? I don't think it did it?
I don't think it did.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
he
that-
might have had something of an oath, right? Like, because he was a
But not
No.
what we think of now.
Yeah, not the
No.
Oath. Yeah. Number
Right.
7, Connor gets first crack. In early appearances, Ace the Bat Hound had to wear a mask due to his distinctive forehead marking in the shape of a diamond, B bat, C spade, or D club.
A spade?
That is incorrect. Matt, you've got a chance to steal.
Oh, snap. That's exactly what I think of when I think of an ace. He's wearing a mask. So let's go heart.
That wasn't one of the options.
Oh, man. What was the other option?
The
I
option-
just went to the suit of cards.
Yeah,
It's the other two suits plus bat.
yeah.
Oh, bat. I don't know
First
what
option.
that was bat cow. They wouldn't...
You've got diamond, bat, or what was it? Club? That's one card.
Club.
Club. Let's go diamond then.
Diamond's correct.
Ah, there you go.
Which ties us at 2 each. We've got a fight. We've got a match.
So I looked up Johnny Peril, and it
course you
looks like the most pulp action hero. He's wearing a leather jacket and khakis. He's basically,
So
who
Matt's
I want to be.
hunting down some back issues as we speak. Then is what we're saying.
Yeah, he's a detective of the occult and an adventurer of the weird.
I'm looking at it now. This is so Matt.
All right.
Yes, it is.
Number 8, Matt gets first crack. Showcase issue 4 kicked off the Silver Age with the introduction of Barry Allen as the Flash in a story titled A, The Fastest Man Alive, B, Flash of Light, C, Mystery of the Human Thunderbolt, or D, Lightning Strikes.
I'll say D, lightning strikes.
That is incorrect. Connor's got a chance to steal.
I could see it in my head.
B.
Flash of Light is incorrect. The answer was Mystery of the Human Thunderbolt.
That's so dumb. I
yeah.
should have picked it.
Fastest Man Alive is bait, because obviously that's something they would title it now, but
Hey,
yeah. It's bait. That's a bait answer. Alright, number 9. Connor gets first crack. In the late 1960s, Lois Lane grew tired of waiting for Superman's love and shook up her life. Which of the following did not happen? Right? Which of the following did not happen? She took a job as a nurse, changed her last name to Lorne, moved to Coral City, got engaged to a pilot.
I'm going to go with nurse.
That's incorrect, Matt. You've got a chance to steal it.
I'll say B.
Oh,
change her last name.
You make.
He went with B, though, for the record.
Was that B? Change the last name to
Change-
Lorne? That is incorrect. The answer is got engaged to a pilot. It was actually an astronaut. So
Oh, jeez.
That's a kind
I
of
knew-
pilot.
I knew she'd gotten engaged, so that's why I ruled that out.
That's just
Yeah.
a space pilot.
might not be the pilot. Not all the astronauts fly the ship.
How very MJ of her.
I know. I wonder if this was because this is the '60s, in the late '60s, so this would have been right after Spider-Man started to get popular, I assume. So number 10, last of the DC Comics round. Oh, yes, for Matt first. Yeah. What happened to nearly ruin the wedding of Barry Allen and Iris West? A. Captain Cold froze the minister. B. Professor Zoom took Barry's place. C. Mirror Master made a duplicate Iris. Or D. Grodd ate the catering.
Man, I can see any of these.
I assumed Matt knew this one, to be honest.
No.
I love it.
I mean, I really wanted to be Captain Coldfreeze as the minister, because that is very dastardly.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing Zoom, I'll say B.
That is correct. Matt gets a point. Zoom
boom.
did take Barry's place. I thought Grodd was an obvious joke answer that wasn't the right one. But,
Yeah.
So we're on 3-2. So at the end of the DC Comics round, it's 3 points to Matt and 2 points to Connor. So we're going to have, and I think I could either stick to one of you for all 5 questions, but I think it makes more sense to alternate here. So basically, Matt's going to get 5 questions on wrestling.
Oh, no.
That are just for him. And Connor's going to get 5 questions on video games, which are just for him. Alright? So I'll alternate between them. So obviously there's no reason to worry about order here. I'll just go Connor,
Right.
Matt, and stick to, obviously, your set questions. So there's no chance to steal. You get it right or you get it wrong, and that's it. So question 1 for Connor on video games. Which of these actors has appeared in the recent Hitman games as an elusive target? A. Tommy Wiseau. B. Nicolas Cage. C. Gary Busey, or D. David Arquette?
I hope it's all of them.
Do you know what's funny? Because someone said, how about this as a question? And I said, oh, Sean Bean. Everyone knows Sean Bean was in Hitman. Right? And then he offered me another answer. I went, wait, really? And that's where this question came from. So
Yeah, if you'd given me Sean Bean there, I'd have gone, yeah, okay. That would have, as soon as you've said that, I've gone, oh, yeah, I remember that. I don't know. I don't think it's right, but just out of sheer hope, I'm going with Gary Busey.
it's right.
That's what I was hoping too. I'm
Gary
like, if there-
Busey was an illicit target.
That was just more, I wanted that to be right than actually.
Is Gary Busey still alive?
Yeah, he's like 70, I think.
Okay. There was a mock reality show, and I only say that because I'm not sure if it was gimmicked or not. Like it was supposed to look like one, but it was him and his assistant called I'm with Busey. And me and my brother, back when we didn't get along, it was one of the things we bonded over. And it was completely ridiculous. And Gary Busey was a character. So yeah.
He's 75.
Oh, 75.
He's 76 in June.
Man, he better stay inside. He's at risk.
Yeah.
All right. Question one from Matt and his wrestling
All right.
round. At what event did Steve Austin introduce the phrase Austin
Oh, I
316?
know this.
Was it A, King of the Ring 96, B, SummerSlam 96, C, Survivor Series 96, or D, In Your House Mind Games?
It was King of the Ring. Because
That's
he beat Jake the Snake, who was doing the biblical kind of gimmick. And he said, well, Austin 316 he said, I just whipped your ass.
Yeah, okay, maybe that was a bit too easy. Don't worry, get harder, Connor.
I feel like Matt's going to know all of these wrestling ones.
They get
I
harder.
might not know. There was a period where I wasn't watching, and it was a huge chunk. So
They get harder, don't worry. All right, Connor's second video game question. What did EGM, that's Electronic Gaming Monthly, for anyone who doesn't know, magazine, what did EGM give Game of the Year to in 1995?
Something stupid.
Is it A, Twisted Metal, B, Donkey Kong Country, C, Chrono Trigger, or D, Tekken 2?
Look, frankly, there's only two acceptable answers here. And I'm going to assume they didn't give it to either of those. For the record, B and C are the acceptable answers. So I'm going to say they give it to A.
That is correct. Twisted Metal was Game of the Year according to EGM in 1995.
So Tekken 2 did not come out in 95, did it?
I think it did. At the very least, it was out in the arcade in 95.
Okay, that makes sense then.
Yeah, initial release date, August 95.
There you go.
In the arcades. Yeah.
Okay.
PlayStation in 96.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So that's cool. Question 2 for Matt's wrestling round. Who did Andre the Giant face at WrestleMania 1? Was it A, Junkyard Dog, B, the Iron Sheik, C, Big John Studd, or D, King Kong Bundy?
I'm going to say C, Big John Studd, because I think that's when he slammed him.
That is correct. Matt's on the roll with these. That's it.
Because it was the contact. There was a contest that Brain had, who could slam Big John Studd, and Andre picked him up.
You're both 2 for 2. Can I just say, by the way, because I'm on my new computer this week. I had it last week, but this is the first time I've been recording anything on it. Can I just say how much smoother the processor's running with all this stuff that I usually have running during these recordings?
We don't give a shit about your process.
Yeah, but I care. There's so many more threads. It's great.
I'm staring at that picture of Johnny Peril still, wondering how I can work Justice League Dark.
All right. Number 3 on the video games round for Connor. In which this is one submitted by a viewer actually. Now, to be fair, someone actually submitted like a 10-question video games quiz, which I didn't use because obviously it wouldn't be fair to Matt. But I took this question. Some of the other ones are a bit too easy though, but I thought this one was a bit more.
Who was it? So I can give him shit when I hate this question.
It was Renegade. All right. In which PlayStation horror classic was the villain Scissor Man? Was it A, Nightmare Creatures, B, Clock Tower, C, Alone in the Dark, or D, Chaos Break?
I didn't play any of these games. I didn't play a lot of old horror games.
Neither did I actually, but I know that's just from the legacy of the. I just know the reputation. I've seen the images of it and stuff.
Fair enough. Horror games really not my strong point. Not that I've watched a lot more horror movies than I have played horror games. I don't tend to care as much about playing them. I don't know. They don't grab me. I've read more horror books than I've played horror games. I'll go with B.
Clock Tower's right. Connor's 3 for 3 in his video games
Nice.
round. What's funny though is that I feel like all 3 of them have been just blind luck.
No. On the second one, I narrowed it down to two
Sure,
things.
Okay, the second one
So that was 50-50.
used some logic, but 1 and 3 was just luck. They was just guesses.
Well, one was hope. That is not even luck or
Wolverine's
guess.
right.
That's just what I want. That's just, please, universe, let this be true. Not because I want the point, because this needs to be true.
All right, number 3 on the wrestling for Matt. What name did Orange Cassidy debut under?
Okay.
Was it A, Fire Ant, B, Green Beetle, C, Dark Spider, or D, Wasp Thing?
Oh my god, any of these could have been that.
Is this the first one he doesn't know right off?
Well, yeah, any of these could have been any Chikara characters.
It was Chikara, you're right.
Yep. At one point, they had CP Monk, who was a wrestling chipmunk. So, I'm gonna say Fire Ant.
Man, 3 for 3 in the wrestling as well. Joe, what's funny about this is these feel like, oh, you're both the experts at these categories, so no wonder you're getting them right. But there've been relative guesses, some of them, which is what I think's really funny about it.
My first 2 were pretty spot on because of context.
Yeah,
However, that one was a guess. Fire Ant just seemed something that would apply to him.
Yeah. So
If there's any wrestler that screams Chikara that's not Jervis Cottonbelly, it is Orange Cassidy. So it makes no surprise.
I don't know any of the things you've just said.
That's all right. Jervis Cottonbelly is the world's sweetest man, and he wrestles in a mask that looks like a proper dashing gentleman. So it's got a mustache and a monocle built in.
I can safely say I've never seen this, because there are some like wrestlers
hilarious.
where if you show me them, I'll be like, okay, I've seen that person before.
Well, and to be fair, it's not like Jervis would be a well-known name. Like this is Although, if you want to have some fun, look up him versus Orange Cassidy.
Even Connor knows what Hulkamania is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or Pastamania.
There's a handful of wrestlers, probably from the late 90s, early 2000s, when people of my age were, watching it in school.
Yeah.
That I could probably go, okay, sure, I recognize them. If you tell me a name, I'll go, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, anywho. Number 4 in the video games for Connor. Which of these is not a Final Fantasy protagonist? Is A, Luneth, B, Van, C, Noctis, or D, Zemus?
Right, the only one I know for sure is C, Noctis, because that's from 15.
I've got written down who's from what here, I can tell you.
So Noctis is from 15, right? Okay.
Well, this is not just characters, this is protagonists.
Protagonists, yes.
Protagonists.
Protagonists, yes.
What were the other ones?
Luneth, Van, and Zemus.
I'm going to go with A on the basis that might be another character from 15, but not the protagonist.
That is incorrect. Luneth is the protagonist of Final Fantasy III. Van is the protagonist of 12. Zemus is the villain of 4, so that was the correct answer.
I've not played any of these. So. 15 I only know because it's the most recent one.
They have a sound to them, though. Final Fantasy characters have a sound to them. It's kind of like so Star Wars characters have a sound to them. So, I thought it'd be funny.
Well, but the problem is they're all characters.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It'd be too easy. It might be too easy if it was Luneth, Van, Noctis, and Bill.
However, Bill is in Final Fantasy VIII, so...
all right, number 5. Number 4, on the wrestling from Matt. Which of these was not a match type in WCW?
No.
A, Doomsday Cage Match. B, Junkyard Invitational. C, Leather Pants on a Pole. Or D, Battle of the Bikes.
Where's E? These were all matches. I'm positive. Vince Russo, man. What was B?
Junkyard Invitational.
I feel like the bikes would happen at Sturgis.
I love this.
And leather pants is something that definitely happened. Although that one doesn't seem. I'll say C, leather pants.
You're correct because it was leather. It was a leather jacket on a pole match.
Yeah. Yeah. WCW got so dumb.
Just to be
They
ridiculous.
had some of the best people, but man, creative there towards the end.
Right. Number 5, final question for Connor's video game round. What was the code name for the Sega Saturn?
Ooh.
Was it A, the Jupiter, B, the Revolution, C, the Dolphin, or D, the Mercury?
Dolphin's ringing a bell, but I don't feel like that's to do with the fuck it, the dolphin.
Do you know what's funny?
Okay.
Is I almost had the question B for one of the other ones and thought, oh, that's too easy because that one's quite well known, and I changed it to the Saturn. That's incorrect. Dolphin's the GameCube.
Okay,
it
that's
was
why it
ringing a
seems
bell.
familiar.
The Revolution is the Wii. The Mercury is the Sega Game Gear, which leaves the Jupiter as the Saturn. Believe it or not.
Oh, they got real
Such a
creative with
stupid
that one.
swap out.
I
Yeah.
know.
I ruled that one out because I was like, they wouldn't be that stupid, sure.
Yeah.
No, they did.
Yeah.
They did. So, final question for Match Wrestling Round. After the controversial finish to the Royal Rumble in 1997, the final 4 participants faced off at the following pay-per-view. Who was the 4th man, along with Bret Hart, Steve Austin, and The Undertaker? Was it A, Vader, B, Psycho Sid, C, Farouk, or D, Shawn Michaels?
It was. You said Austin, Taker,
And Bret are the 3 that you know.
Brett. I'm gonna say Shawn Michaels just because of that era.
Incorrect. It was Vader.
Yeah.
If you
Vader,
remember,
gotcha.
the reason why it wasn't Shawn is because the reason why they
Yeah.
had this match was because Shawn lost his
Shawn had-
smile and
That's
vacated
right.
the belt.
I don't know if people know this. I intensely dislike Shawn Michaels. I understand how he was important, but all the stories I've heard, he seems like not such a great guy, especially at that time. So most of my Shawn Michaels history is just, oh, he's a dick. So I don't care. I'm a Brett guy for the record.
He's apparently much less of a dick after he came back after the back
Yeah.
injury and all that. But yeah, early Shawn
Yeah.
Michaels apparently is a dickhead.
Well, he was also apparently heavily addicted to prescription medicine,
Yeah.
which isn't anybody in their best. So, however, and I know one of my favorite wrestlers really looks up to him, and it pains me. So,
So
you know,
anyway, at
Yeah.
the end of those person-specific rounds, Matt's on 7 points, Connor's on 5. So still very much to play for as we go into the movie round. 10 questions here. So here we go. So we'll stick with the order we've had throughout, which is Connor first, Matt second. Just keep that going. So Connor gets question 1. What is the name of Star-Lord's mother in the MCU? Is it A? Is it A, Margaret, B, Madeline, C, Meredith, or D, Matilda?
C.
It's correct. Meredith is the right
It's Meredith
answer.
Quill. Oh man,
Look at Connor getting a point.
That's all
So question 2 for Matt. Who is Buzz Lightyear's arch nemesis? Is it A?
So what the hell? This is the easiest question we've ever
yes
had.
it is.
I could answer this without even the
Next
options.
the galaxy from
Hey, if you want to answer without the
Purple
options, Matt.
bastard.
Emperor Zurg.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. There you go. That gets a point.
One of my favorite things that was on that cartoon series, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, there was a vampire robot named Nos4A2. So yeah, that always cracked me.
Now, I'll be honest. I wouldn't have got that without the options.
Yeah.
Once you gave me the options, I'd have known it was Zurg. But I was.
It's honestly the easiest question we've had on any of these quizzes yet.
All right, number 3 for Connor. How long does Ripley spend adrift in suspended animation between the end of Alien and the beginning of Aliens?
Man.
God damn it. These are all going to be really close together values.
Yeah.
Is it A, 47 years, B, 53 years, C, 57 years, or D, 63 years?
Sound like they're all multiples of 9 as well.
That's 47, 53, 57, 63.
A.
Go with 47?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. Matt has a chance to steal this one.
I'll say 53.
That is also incorrect. 57 is the right answer. But
My gut said that because that's one of my numbers, but I was like,
If you combine our two answers, we got that.
no, if you combine your two answers, you get 100.
Oh no. Take the 7 from mine, the 50 from Matt's.
Yeah,
That's not how math works.
yeah, it is. Alternative facts.
Uh,
However, I do know that her daughter's really old now.
Yeah, but that would have worked with any of them.
Yeah.
all right, number 4. Matt gets first. Oh. Now,
Yep.
I don't know if how easy this is really, but I just laugh because the first words in the title make it sound like it's going to be a really easy question for Matt.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Broke domestic box office records in 1993, but what was the first movie to beat it? Was it A,
Okay.
Forrest Gump, B, The Lion King, C, Independence Day, or D, Titanic?
Oh man.
What was the first movie to beat it at the domestic box office?
So chronologically, they're in order because it went Forrest Gump, Lion King, Independence Day, and then Titanic. So Forrest Gump wasn't that much of a box office hit, I don't think. And although I say that, and when it is that, I'm look like a fool. Lion King, though, it's animated, made a ton of money. I want you to pick Titanic, but I don't know. That's 4 years in between those movies.
Titanic obviously did better, but was
Yeah,
the
but
first
not,
to do
not
better.
first.
Yeah,
And then I feel Independence Day did a lot of money too. I'm gonna go with Lion King.
that is incorrect. Connor, you've got a
Damn.
chance to steal this one.
Just because Matt said it's not it, I'm going to say Forrest Gump.
You both fell for the trap. It's Titanic.
Yep. Damn.
It's Titanic.
The Jurassic Park did so well that it took 4 years.
To be fair, it took a lot longer than that to beat Titanic.
Yeah, and it'd
Yeah.
be a decent amount of time longer for Avatar to get beat as well. So
Yeah, which
You know.
I don't understand. I am convinced James Cameron does black magic. That's the only.
There's no way it happens again with Avatar 2. It's just not happening.
Mm-mm.
I don't think so either, but I will cackle with
Well,
laughter if it does.
Theaters
I will
aren't a
cackle.
thing anymore, so
It's going straight to VOD.
yeah. So, and then they don't have to
Alright.
share the numbers, so
Eh?
they can.
They can
Yeah,
pretend.
Avatar beat it. Yeah, James Cameron was like, "Yep, Avatar beat it. All right, back to the bottom of the ocean."
All right, number 5 goes to Connor first. Twilight Zone creator Rod Serling is credited as writing which of these movies? A, Planet of the Apes. B, Logan's Run. C, the Andromeda Strain, or D, Journey to the Center of the Earth. All science fiction, of course.
Yeah. I don't think it's A. C.
Going with the Andromeda Strain, that is incorrect. Matt's got a chance to steal this.
The Andromeda Strain was written by Michael Crichton, and Rod Serling wrote Planet of the Apes. Hence the twist at the end.
I think you'll find that Matt is indeed correct in the Twilight Zone. So Matt gets a point. Right, number 6. Matt gets this first crack. What is The Two Jakes a sequel to?
I know this.
Is it A, The French Connection, B, Chinatown, C, Dog Day Afternoon, or D, Get Car?
Forget it. It's Chinatown.
It is Chinatown. How's it Matt just knows movies a lot better than Connor does, apparently.
And that was not a super difficult one.
I've never seen The Two Jakes. I hear it's very, very not good. So and,
Yeah, I never hear anyone talking about it, except for the fact that it happens to be the sequel to Chinatown.
Yeah.
right. And,
It's
and
the only reason anyone knows what it is.
yeah, and I really enjoy Chinatown despite the director. So you know,
I'll be honest, I was kind of bored by it when I watched it, so
yeah, I like noir.
yeah.
And it is a noir, even if the storyline does not like line up, and that's what I feel that True Detective season 2 is trying to do, but it doesn't execute it. You know,
How did
like
we
the
get-
story just
How did
there.
Matt just casually reference True Detective season 2?
because
Stop
True
it!
Detective season 2 has because it has a lot in common with Chinatown. It's all about water wars, and Chinatown does it way more interesting than
I
puts a lot of.
watched a whopping 1 episode of True Detective season
Yeah,
2, and I feel
I
good
was-
about that.
Yeah, I was there for McAdams, and I was fairly disappointed.
I get that.
I don't. All right, Connor. Number 7. You get first.
Can I have a nice, easy one?
Nope.
It depends if you count this as easy. I might, but I mean,
Yeah.
we'll see if you think it's easy. Who's the higher body count? Is it A, Leatherface, B, Freddy Krueger, C, Jason Voorhees, or D. Michael Myers?
I haven't seen enough of the films to kind of really. I don't. You got to weigh up the amount of films they have, kills per film.
I want to give Connor a hint at something.
Go on, why did that
No,
for?
I
I
don't.
know.
Because you'll get to steal it and get your point.
Yeah.
What were the order there again? I know Myers was last. What are the others?
Leatherface, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers.
Let's go with Voorhees.
That is correct. Jason Voorhees is the winner here with 151 kills. Michael Myers comes in second with 133.
Holy crap!
I thought he would have been like a lot lower than that.
He's got a lot of movies. Freddy only has 39, and Leatherface only has 31. Yeah.
I was gonna say Leatherface is towards the bottom because his are a lot more small groups, right?
Yeah.
What I was gonna say, my head was gonna
Michael
be
Myers killing that many per film. But...
I was gonna say, keep in mind that Michael Myers is absent in only one of those.
Yeah, he's got 11. Well, 10. If you take away 3, he's got 10 movies to kill people in.
And then Jason's not in 2 of his.
He's not in 5 technically, and
what?
I'm not sure if they counted 9 when they were doing this because in 9 he possesses people. It's just a completely different plot.
That could be where a lot of his kills come from too, and I wouldn't count those.
Yeah, I don't think it does count those though. I think it just counts Jason.
What about the first one?
First one's not him.
No, that's what I mean.
Oh, the first one's not him, yeah. But
so we're not counting that either.
Yeah, but even then, he kills so many per movie, Jason. Like his kill count.
Yeah.
Because even see in Freddy vs Jason, because me and Tim just did this for streams.
Yep.
In Freddy vs Jason, Freddy kills one person, Jason kills everyone else.
That's the purpose of that movie, right?
I've watched like 6 of those those movies, and I'm like, I can picture him killing a lot of people per movie. Yeah. So that's why I went with that.
And even not being in a couple of them, there's still a lot of movies to pick from. So
Jason's my guy. He's brute force. He's misunderstood. He just wants to be left alone, and I really relate to that.
All right, Matt.
Yeah.
Which of these actors was not in the Twilight Saga?
Oh man.
A. Michael Sheen. B. Lee Pace. C. Rami Malek. Or D. Nicholas Hoult.
Oh man. I know 2 of them because I have seen movies.
I've seen all of them. I can picture 2 of them.
Yeah, me too. I know Michael Sheen's there for one, and I know.
Don't tell Connor what we're rolling out because he has to answer after.
Well, he knows already. So I'm certain he knows what I know.
These. Yeah.
Yeah. So that leaves me 2. I don't remember one of them. So I'm gonna say Nicholas Hoult.
That is correct. Nicholas Hoult was not in the Twilight Saga.
So which means Lee Pace. Yeah, because they're both in the Volturi.
Yeah, thanks to a stream goal and a huge donation from someone, you can expect the first Twilight reviewed on Streams After Midnight soon.
I will say, as silly as those movies are, I didn't mind the third one. The third one's not terrible.
The only redeeming factor about Twilight is getting drunk and watching the baseball scene in the first one.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I really enjoy the baseball scene.
It's so bad.
When music kicks in, it is. It's completely.
That is such a good Muse song, though, isn't it?
Yep, it is. It's my favorite Muse song, and I'm not.
It's a top 3 Muse song.
I'm not giving my opinion. You can wait until Streams After Midnight's review of it.
And that's fine. It's not Vampires and Werewolves as I like them, but I will say Bryce Dallas Howard shows up in the third one. I think.
That sounds about right.
Together at this point. She replaced another character from the first 2.
Anna Kendrick's in one of them.
She's in the first. It was her first movie, I believe.
Yeah.
She's the friend.
I only knew she was going to pop up because she's got a famous tweet where she said, "Lol, I just remembered I was in Twilight." That's the reason why I knew she was in that movie. All right, so number 9, Connor gets first crack. This one's actually bizarrely hard unless you really remember this movie, to be honest. But thank David for this question. And The Usual Suspects. It's revealed that Verbal Kint was getting details from around the interrogation room. What was the first thing that Detective Kujin noticed in the room that matched Kint's story?
B.
B's actually correct, funnily enough, so fair enough.
Oh!
That was a brand of corkboard was the answer, B.
I had no. I've seen that movie once about 6 years ago, and it's fine. I don't know desire to ever watch it again. I was never going to remember this.
Yeah, so Connor gets a point, though. So, fine. All right. Matt, final movie question. You get first crack at it. Which famous actor, or which now famous actor, I should say, played the bully in the Never-Ending Story 3?
There's 3 of those?
Yeah, there is.
That's the right reaction to that.
Yeah.
Is it A, Jack Black, B, Ryan Reynolds, C, Norman Reedus, or D, Christian Slater?
So 3 had to put it in the mid-90s.
I've got it narrowed down to 2 that I think it is.
Yeah. So it's Slater, Reynolds, Jack Black, and who's the third one? Or fourth one, I should say?
Norman Reedus.
I'll say him, because that's around the time that Boondock Saints. I'm going to put Neverending Story 3 around the mid-90s. So I'll say Norman Reedus.
That's incorrect. Connor's got a chance to steal this.
Ryan Reynolds.
The answer's Jack Black.
Really?
And
That's not one of the ones that I thought it was.
And I knew this because I had seen all 3 of these as a kid, so I remembered young Jack Black in this.
The first time I ever seen Jack Black was in this movie called Airborne, which is about the surfer kid that has to move to Ohio.
Of course, it's a surfer thing.
Yeah, well, no, he moves to Ohio, and of course there's no waves, so he ends up inline rollerblading. And of course, all the hockey kids hate him because he's cool surfer bro. And Jack Black's one of the hockey kids.
The only one I really ruled out, and that was Christian Slater. I feel like mid-90s, he was already doing too many things that were a bit too big.
Yeah.
And even this is a little bit too big in the 80s.
Do you realize how much quicker these quizzes would go if Matt didn't have like personal trivia after every question? I'm not complaining. I'm just
saying.
So we're at Matt with 11 points and Connor with 8 points. So it's not that much of a difference right now. So there's one final round here, right? Right. And what this is these are all going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger lines, and there's no stealing in this one, right? I'm just going to say it. We're going to rotate between Connor and Matt, and you either get it or you don't. But it's a chance to mop up some points, right? To mop up some points.
Or Pete, are you doing the accent?
I can't really do it. I'll try if you want me to, but
do you know? Like,
you have to try.
I can probably count on one hand the amount of Arnie movies I've seen. They're not my sort of films.
That's your fault for being weird.
No, just those sorts of action movies have never been my sort of films. So, yeah. And you know this. This is unfair.
Here's the excuses. So,
Pete knows full well I don't like these sorts of action movies.
This was a fun round idea.
Well, I can tell by your hot take on Extraction, which I still haven't seen, and it made me very angry, and I haven't seen it.
Extraction.
But I wanted to, the new Hemsworth movie.
All right.
We'll get there.
All right. Okay. Cara gets to go first.
Yep.
So we'll just do these quickly. All right. Number 1. It's not a tumor.
No.
Just say something.
I don't know. I have an answer for you. I don't know what.
It's yes or no. Is this an Arnold line or is it not an Arnold
line?
No.
You're
it's
guessing
not
the movie.
A tumor.
No, you're guessing the movie. It's not yes or no.
Oh, you're guessing the movie.
Guessing the movie. So you didn't actually tell us that part.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
You're trying to name the movie it's from, right? Arnold's only been in so many movies. Just fire one out.
I have no idea.
Just say one. Doesn't matter what it is.
No, I'm good. I don't know any.
Potter, just say Terminator for all of them.
He's such a spoiled sport, right?
I don't know the answer. I'm not going to just sit here and guess random Arnie movies.
Well, you don't have to guess one and you'll be wrong.
Yeah, I know. There's no showmanship in this. Come on, just say anything.
Pass.
Kindergarten Cop. Boom. Nailed it.
Yeah. All right, you know what, Matt? You can just mop up points here then.
Just let Matt have this category.
All right. Okay, fine. There's going to be a hell of a curveball on the points here, but all right. 2. I'll see you at the party, Richter.
Victor, True Lies.
No. That's incorrect. Answer was Total Recall.
Damn.
Number because Michael Ironside is Richter. It's when he's holding Ironside's arms that have been ripped off. And he's like, I'll see you at the party, Richter. All right. Number 3. Put the cookie down.
That's Kindergarten Cop.
Jingle all the way. That's not as well as he thought he did.
That's right. That's right. He said Kindergarten Cop.
Yep.
Put the cookie down.
Yeah. Number 4. Nice night for a walk.
Nice night for a walk. Trying to think mid-90s. What he did. The way that he said that kind of understated. I'm gonna say it's not one of his bigger ones.
I wouldn't judge it on Pete's delivery.
I know, yeah. I mean, my accent impression's not good.
I might pull a con. I have no idea what this could be from. Uh,
Understated might not mean it's a smaller movie. It may just mean the character's more
no,
understated.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like one of his smaller characters that he has done. I don't know.
I mean, it's Terminator. I wouldn't count it as a smaller character, but
Really, it's from Terminator.
yeah, Bill Paxton says like "nice night for a walk." He's like "nice night for a walk." It's when he's
Oh,
when he
man.
get the clothes. All right, number 5. Stick around.
Stick around. See, this is a lot more difficult now that I've already said ones that I know.
I'm actually kind of ashamed at how many of these I would get easily.
Yeah.
I know these quite well.
Stick around, Predator.
As Predator, it's when he stabs a guy with a
Yeah.
knife. And
Yep.
he's pinned up against the wall. He's like,
I
stick
was
around.
either Predator or Commando, and I had to take a guess.
All right. Okay, you got one there. Obviously, I mean, we'll just count the points from before for the game. Matt won, right? But we'll keep doing these because they're fun.
Yeah.
All right. Number what were we? 6. Who's your daddy and what does he do?
Dad's kindergarten cop.
That's Kindergarten Cop. Yeah,
That's
that
what
one
our dad says. Our mom says our dad's a real sex machine.
there.
Love kindergarten cop.
Number 7. You want to be a farmer? Here's a couple of acres.
Is that Commando?
No, that is
No.
Last Action Hero as he hits someone in the nuts.
That's right. I forget Last Action Hero.
I'd forgotten this one admittedly, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
But see, when I was looking, because I got a bunch off the top of my head, and I was looking up for some other ones, and I found this one and laughed out loud when I read it. I'm like, I don't remember this line. All right, this one's super easy. You'll know this. You're a funny guy, Sally. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
Funny guy, Sully. You say it's easy, and then I get into my head. I know the name Sully too.
I'll give you a follow up. When I said I'd
Yeah.
kill you last, I lied.
Well, it's one that you really like. So I have it narrowed down to True Lies or Commando.
Uh-huh.
And the cheesiness, I'm going to say Commando.
Commando's right. It's Commando.
Yeah.
That's Patrick. It's David Patrick Kelly. He's holding upside
Yep.
down at the cliff.
And his name's John Matrix. So just let that sink in.
Yes. Arnold's line. The character name in that is John Matrix. Yes. Yes. Actually, Joe, what the was this isn't one of them, but one of the ones in the list that I was looking at, where it just said basically all of them was "to hell with you," because he says that in a lot of movies.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, "I'll be back" he says in a lot, but "to hell
I'll
with
be
you"
back.
is one that he says a lot. All right, number 9. There is no bathroom.
There is no bathroom. All right, so that's one of his. It's either Jingle All the Way or Kindergarten Cop. We already had 2. So Jingle All the Way.
Kindergarten Cop.
Damn it!
Joe, what's funny is Kindergarten Cop is one of his most quotable movies.
It is.
Which is
'cause
kind of
there's
what
so
I'm-
many.
This is what I'm proving here with this quiz.
Yes.
All right, number 10. I did nothing. The pavement was saved. I'll be honest. He doesn't yell this one, so it's hard to do an impression of. I did nothing. The pavement was his enemy.
Last Action Hero.
That's Twins.
Now twins, really?
Yeah, he got because someone steals Daddy people's suitcase with his stuff in it,
Oh.
and he just sort of hits someone who's on the bike, and he's like, "I did nothing. The
Gotcha.
pavement was his enemy." Good one.
Yeah.
Number 11. Consider that a divorce.
Consider that a divorce. So he's fighting with a. Oh man, I can see this in my head too. Shoot, I don't know.
It is Total Recall. It's after he
Total
kills Sharon
Recall.
Stone. Who's,
That's
his,
right.
His wife.
I haven't seen Total Recall probably since 1996.
I'll be honest, I would have totally had the line from Running Man about Plane
Yeah.
Zero now Sub Zero now Plane Zero, but that was in the quiz before,
Right.
so I couldn't use it. again.
Right.
Number 12. I eat green berets for breakfast, and right now I'm very hungry.
I eat green berets for breakfast. And right now I'm hungry.
I didn't remember this one, but this one's pretty funny.
Yeah. So he's against the military. They're after him because it's Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Predator?
It's not. It's Commando.
It's Commando.
Dead to
Okay.
Goldrick's character. One that I didn't put in there was actually from. It was a funny, I didn't remember liking this movie, but there was a line that people had in lists from End of Days, where he says to presumably the villain, compared to me, you're a choir boy, or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 13. There's 18 of these. Oh, sorry, 16 of these, by the way. We're almost done. 13. I'm the party pooper.
Kindergarten Cop.
Yes.
Yeah.
That movie's so quotable.
It is.
All right, number 14 is kind of easy, but you might forget which one it's from because it's such a famous line. Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper. Predator.
Predator is the right answer.
Yeah.
And then number... Oh, I'm not done that point. Number 15.
Mm-hmm.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
Let us have seen Bennett. Bennett's...
Got a hint
Man,
of the
now they're all
captain
coming together. They're
Yeah.
all... Yeah. They're all coming together, though. Because like Connor said, there's a reason I understand why Connor doesn't like Arnold movies. For a while, they were just plug and play.
Oh,
But that's why I enjoy them.
they're amazing. They're the best.
Yeah. But awesome seeing Bennett.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's my Star Wars.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just realised it.
In terms of Arnold movies I've seen, you got Terminators, Commando, Predator. That's probably about it. I'm good. I don't ever want
True
to see
Lies,
another one.
Kindergarten Cop are my two favorites.
Anyway, what else was doing better? Come on, this is the second last one. Let's wrap this
Commando.
up. Commando's right.
Yeah.
That was right. The final one, one of my low-key favourites that people always forget about. You killed my father. Big mistake. When you get the context of what this is in, this one's amazing.
Is it one of the Terminators?
No. It's Last Action Hero.
Chimera.
It's when the kid is having to study Hamlet in school, so he imagines Hamlet starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Oh my god.
That's right.
I love that sequence.
I was going to say Last Action Hero, but then I thought, what part of the movie?
Yeah. Because I love the ending of it because he says, to be or not to be. And then he goes, not to be, and then it explodes behind the castle explodes behind them. I love that.
I had a action figure of Arnold based off of that scene where the Hamlet skull would shoot out of his hand. It was the 90s were wild for action figures.
So good. So that was you got 6 of those out of 16.
Yeah, not my proudest moment, but still.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Honestly, I thought that would have been.
Yeah.
That would have been. Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Anyway, I had fun doing them. So.
My favorite thing is now he's Chris Pratt's father-in-law. That's so weird.
That is weird, actually. Odd stuff. All right. So that is the quiz. So we'll get on to what we've been working through this week. I guess we'll start with comic books, as it is supposed to be a comic book podcast normally. So I'll go since Connor's been quiet during the Arnold quiz.
Yeah.
We'll get Connor.
He's a party pooper.
He is a party pooper. You're a ginger.
That's just not my thing. Sorry.
You're such a filthy ginger. Anyway.
I have been reading Jimmy Olsen, and by that I mean the Kirby stuff.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah,
very fancy.
I know. No, basically, I realized, hey, I've got like most of these Kirby trades that DC have been putting out over the last few years on Comixology. I've just not really touched them. They haven't put out a Forever People one yet, so I'm having to use DC Universe for that part of the order. I thought, I'll just read them in order, as to how they kind of interacted and set up all the fourth world stuff. It's wild to think that Darkseid was introduced in Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Like you kind of forget about it, and it's one of those facts that you know in the back of your brain, and then you get there and see him pop up on a TV screen, and he's just there, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that's his first appearance. It's bizarre
Because he was seeding the fourth world stuff throughout Jimmy Olsen, so it wouldn't be such a big
out of nowhere kind of thing.
Out of nowhere thing, yeah. Because you also had the Forever People who were like hippies. I think they showed up in Jimmy Olsen first.
I think they show up in their own book first, and then in Jimmy. Olsen.
Okay, gotcha.
So did you happen to, since you're getting into like Darkseid stuff, did you happen to know Darkseid's true name earlier?
No, that hasn't been done yet.
No, okay.
I actually think I did know that. Like that wasn't a random guess. It was in the back of my brain somewhere.
That's fair. It's one of those random bits of trivia where most people wouldn't know it. 'Cause I didn't know it off the top of my head. It's just one of those things.
It's one of those things that it's one of those. It always reminds me of like the Monitor's name and stuff like that. It's one of those where I knew it was kind of along that line.
Yeah, I can tell you what that is off the top of my head, but if you give me a multiple choice, I might get it.
Yeah, it's but I knew it was similar style to that name, so I was like okay.
I'll hear it and it'll click, you know.
Yeah, but Jimmy Olsen, it's this a lot of the first part of this run that he did was with the Newsboy Legion, but the young ones,
right?
That are clones, maybe. I think there's a lot of clones running around. There's a whole cloning facility. There's like 43 Jimmy Olsens, at least. Because one comes up to him and is like, "Hey, I'm number 43. What are you?" And Superman's like, "It's your lucky day, son, because this is Jimmy Prime." And it's like, what the hell is going on? Jimmy has no idea about any of this.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that the more I learn about comics, and I have respect for Stan Lee and whatnot, but once Kirby left for DC, you could kind of see how much he had input towards the stuff him and Stan did together.
There's a reason he's called the King.
Yeah, right. And so it's amazing how creative this dude was, who just seemed like he's the real life the Thing, right? Like a lot of those mannerisms of Ben Grimm are Jack Kirby. So you wouldn't have him as this dude with psychedelic thoughts, and putting together this fourth world mythology breaking storytelling,
Exactly. And so I've read like the first 6 or 7 issues of his Jimmy Olsen and one Forever People, because that kind of comes in between some of the issues, at least according to the order I found online. I doubt it's publication order, but just as a nice reading way. It holds up. It's so easy to read still. Kirby's stuff really has aged well, a lot better than a lot of other stuff from that period. I don't know if it's his fantastically clean lines that are just so easy to look at and read, or if it is just one of those things where when you get an artist that's writing that trusts their own work, that doesn't feel the need to caption and dialogue everything over, they don't overcompensate. So it reads a lot quicker than a lot of other books from that period. There's not like narration boxes describing every single action like you often found then. It's actually really good. I'm enjoying it a lot. I've read the first couple of issues a while back, and then got busy probably with reading stuff for this podcast, and it wouldn't surprise me if that was the reason, because that has cut into a lot of runs I've tried to read over the last few years. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. So I've got that Forever People I'm reading on DC Universe, and then I've got Mr. Miracle and New Gods as well that we'll get to when they're in the right place. And that's the most I've been reading.
Yeah. Today I started catching up finally on Immortal Hulk. I'm not super far. I read the last issue I read before. I read that again, just sort of as I sort of ease in to where I left off.
What issue are you up to now?
So I read 16, 17, and 18 today, I think.
Okay.
All right. 25 is when it really shakes up.
It's about halfway through the run so far.
So you've been introduced to the concept of Devil Hulk, right?
Yeah. Where I am right now, Joe Fixit would pop back in, and then right now I'm dealing with Abomination and that sort of stuff. What's going on? So really good stuff. I think, cause I remember thinking the Hell stuff was a little bit drawn out for my tastes when that was going on.
I remember you saying that at the time.
And I think this arc after the Hell stuff, just reading it sort of fresh today after some time away from it, I really like this arc so far. Like these 3 issues have been just flown in for me. I have to point out that that in one of the issues, at one point he finds a computer login, and the login details for this computer, the username is Geiger HR and the password's Nostromo, and I cackled with laughter. You nerd, Al Ewing, you nerd.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm
just wait, fun. Pete. That's not the only type of stuff that you're gonna go, you nerd.
There's a lot of rumors of Al Ewing taking over Iron Man now that Slot's leaving.
Oh, maybe I'll try Iron Man. Yeah.
That's the rumor that I'm hearing. I don't know whether or not it's true. There's been no word.
A couple months ago, I'd been catching up in Daredevil, and I had technically caught up at one point, although I'm probably a couple behind now, but not by much.
Probably not much, given that they haven't published anything in about 6 weeks.
Right.
So a month before they all start coming back is a nice little window to catch up on a few things. So
Yeah.
So I'm going to catch up on that. I was catching up on Cap. I didn't get all the way caught up, but I did finish the second trade, so I've maybe got like 10 issues or something to read. But so I'm getting there. I wanted to catch up on Thompson's Captain Marvel because I like Thompson a lot, and that's kind of
my to-do.
That's my targets for just now, in terms of other stuff. So yeah, I'll even once DC comes back, we'll keep apprised of the progress of all the other stuff because we may as well. It's going to be a small amount of books for a while, so but no, I'm digging fun stuff. I love the character work. I love that it's kind of teaching me about Hulk deep history. It's accessible to me, despite the fact that it's drawing on that history. It's well done.
It's the most interested I've ever been in the Hulk, and the Hulk's the character I should like. I just never got into him, and every time I tried his book, it wasn't there. And I think by making it a horror themed book, and then it's not just like it's not typical horror. Like it gets to some body horror type stuff. But there's other things at play there that just work.
There's a moment in one of the issues I just read that was very The Thing, what he does to himself to sort of fight back. That really,
I remember that.
Yeah, that really was kind of like a big, huge moment, and those payoff moments are really good. I've always liked Hulk and wanted to really, and as a Peter David run, I want to go back. I've got a few of the trades in Comixology, and I'll definitely do it at some point. But I've tried multiple times over the last decade, and whether it was Indestructible Hulk, which Wade did, and I like Wade, but it was only okay. It just wasn't
I think we spoke about this a week or two ago, didn't we?
And then likewise, I tried. Was it the one before that, the one after it, whatever it was? But every time I've tried it in the last 10 years, it's not been that good.
The only problem with this current run, which is pretty fantastic, is it occasionally relies too much on previous knowledge of other Hulk stuff that I'm just lacking, and some of the big moments lose their impact because of that.
But as the type of person I am that hears the name Johnny Peril and then goes and researches it, like the fact that you'll get to a character Pete named Zemnu, and I'm like, oh, Al Ewing created this guy, and then you pull him up, like, oh no, Zemnu's been throughout Marvel history.
I think what's intriguing to me about it is that it reminds me of getting into DC back when I didn't know a lot of stuff about DC, and I feel like this is going to be an all-timer where people are going to hold this up as one of these seminal Hulk runs where this is kind of what got a lot of people into it. It's what made people care about the character in a lot of ways. And it does make me want to go back and read like Peter David's run and read some of these classic runs.
Again, I think this was said before on the main show, but the beauty of comics right now, in this day and age, is you can throw in concepts that in this book you're going, okay, you can tell that's a big moment because of the way it's paced and framed and revealed, but you don't quite get the impact. Just go to Google. Wikipedia's got anything you need to know, and you go, oh, okay, I understand what this is now for the next issue.
And for the most part, Comixology will have, or one of the other services will have the issues if you want to actually track them down and read them. It's it's not hard to get. Yeah. It's not everything's not out of print like it was for a long time. So
we're quite fortunate that we can. Even if you don't want to read the story, you can get the context you need just from a very quick Google search for most things.
Well, and something I read, Fing Fang Foom showed up, and I'm just like, what? Like, this is a character I did not know was still part of the mainstream Marvel continuity. So, like Pete just said, it is like that time where you're still kind of learning
and to be fair,
who these characters are and whatnot. But
and to be fair, I mean, it still happens with all of us with DC as well. Because sometimes Johns or someone will pull something out of a hat, and it's like, oh, what's this? And it's like, oh no, that is a thing from X time.
I can count multiple times on our show where Matt has sat there and Googled something because it's like, what is this? And just gone, well, we need to know now.
Yeah, Nathaniel Dusk. Just that's the one that comes to mind. Nathaniel Dusk.
Yeah.
So.
It is.
Anyway, Matt, what have you been?
Yeah, so I'll lead it since we're talking about Marvel right now. I've been catching up with all new Wolverine, and since last week, I've probably read 10, 11 issues because I can't put it down.
Did you get past that point of?
I got
this
past.
Is all right. To this is really good.
So I finished the first arc, which was pretty okay, but it wasn't Tom Taylor as much as I loved it. And then we got to the Old Man Logan
because that's technically a Civil War 2 tie-in, but it's not that connected.
It was way better than anything in Civil War 2.
Oh sure, yeah.
Like like Tom Taylor addressing what the issue of Civil War II was with Laura and about free will versus determinism, and him like she stops to talk with Cap, and at this time this is right before Cap revealed himself to be Hydra and whatnot, so it looks super weird, and I was like, no, don't trust him, what are you doing, right? But Laura stops to talk to him, was like, look, you're getting ready to arrest him for something he hasn't done yet, like, and this is coming from somebody that did bad things, like, and I'm making the decision not to, and so there was this real moment in this otherwise tie-in to an event, and Tom Taylor made it work. So it started picking up there because Gabby shows up, and you get Jonathan the Wolverine, who's great. He's up there now with like Crypto and whatnot.
All those super pets. Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
and whatnot. But
honestly, Matt, see, once you get past it, because I liked the first 2 arcs, right? But see, once you get past that, it's basically gold till the end. The only complaint I'd have with the rest of the run is that I wish that it didn't end with the future arc, which you'll get to. Because it's a good arc. It's weird that that's last.
Well, yeah. So right now, I finished the Enemy of the State 2, which is probably one of my favorite Wolverine stories of all time.
That was wonderful. I love that.
And again, I had to go start looking at Madripoor and Tiger and all these other that I'm just out of, I'm out of play with when it comes to Marvel and stuff. That's like a blind spot, that entire section. But what happened there with her saying that I'm not a number and wanting to take her own journey, and the stuff with the trigger scent and him cleaning up her history and moving the character forward, that is some of the best stuff. So now I understand why Pete's got upset that when Wolverine came back, we couldn't have 2 existing Wolverines. Yeah, they made her X-23 again. Yeah. No, that's not who she is. And now I'm on the alien virus, which I'm not as big on after Enemy of the State, but like that's so hard to follow up. Yeah. I'm sure it's good.
It's a fun little sort of filler in between the more important arcs. Yeah.
So it's really good, and Gabby has completely grown on me because she should not work. Just the way, like, this is a clone of a clone, but her innocence there, like the fact that she can go from completely threatening to, hey, look, a butterfly, like there's something charming, and it's so Tom Taylor that it works. Like, it's gotten to that point where it was like that with Hawkeye, where I didn't want to put it down. But so this was a slow start, and then once I got to the Old Man Logan stuff, and I was like, man, he is killing this, because I didn't want to read that because of Civil War II killed a lot of interest in Marvel for me, because just it wasn't handled very well. So I thought, oh man, don't do this with this book. But I actually really enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than Pete and Connor at this junction.
Yeah, possibly.
But
honestly, all the only thing I'll say is that for X-23 by Tamaki that follows this up, the name is the only complaint I'd have, because she does a great job of continuing those characters.
I did start picking that up when it came out, and then I fell behind and stopped getting it. So I did read a couple of those issues because I do like the Cuckoos, and they pop up in there. So that's why I started reading that.
I feel like because now that you've read this and you'll finish this, you'll have a completely different appreciation for the characters when you start that. So.
Oh, most likely. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed that I read was the Mark Russell Swamp Thing story.
The digital first.
It's one of my favorite Swamp Thing things I've read, just one issue, because he's taking the horror aspect of the character with the like eco section of the character, and he's making them merge. So like, yes, Swamp Thing's this monster, but he's a monster because he's defending the Earth.
Do you know what? I was really glad I didn't pick this up earlier, because now the prices have dropped. I'd have been so annoyed if I'd picked this up and then it dropped.
And this is going to be,
now I might.
If you're interested in the character of Swamp Thing at all, or invested in Swamp Thing, I would say pick this up, because it's about, there's this company that it's like Sunderland Foods, right? And they seem like they're just a food company, but they have this practice of they have this thing called the terminus seed, and once it's planted, it only grows and will only reproduce so much, so you have to buy more. But the problem is, it's not just the seed, it goes and cross-pollinates with everything else. And so when it's planted in a field, it goes and takes over other people's crops, which now becomes Sunderland's property, right? So Swamp Thing's like, no, this is a complete corruption of the earth and of the ecosystem. And he goes and starts tearing down their facilities, and he leaves the workers alive, even though they're trying to, fight him and whatnot. And he's finding out that as the more he interacts with the world, the more it's making, like, he has to put all of his anger and bitterness in one spot, which is now his heart, for lack of a better term, and then he drops his heart somewhere in the swamp. Well, the company has found these hearts, and now they're trying to figure out what they are and to weaponize them. And so now it's this whole thing about how he's trying to stop corruption. By trying to stop the corruption, he's leading more towards the corruption. So it's like this never-ending cycle. And now the company wants to stop him, but they don't know where this bitter stuff or his hearts are coming from. They just know it's this weird plant matter now that they've done experiments on, and it creates a very strong neurotoxin. And they're going to try to use it to stop him. So, but it's typical Mark Russell. Like, it reads episodic, so he's like almost perfect for this, to where there's going to be part of a bigger narrative like Wonder Twins was, or like Flintstones was, but each chapter can almost stand on its own. So it'll have that thread of versus Sunderland.
How long is each issue?
Let me pull it up. They're digital issues. So they're shorter.
Because obviously some digital first ones use that just landscape thing where they're like 4 panels, or are they proper traditional comic format?
This one felt traditional. Let me pull it up.
Comixology claims, it's just loading, it is 17 pages.
Okay, that's not terrible.
Isn't bad for $1.
If those are full comic pages, that's pretty good.
Yeah, so far I'm thumbing through and there's not too many doubles.
Issue 2, it says, is actually 18 pages.
Okay.
They look like standard formatted comic pages, as opposed to like...
that's better than normal, because the reason why I've typically not been super into the digital first stuff as they're released is because I feel like each chapter's too short, and then not only is it only like 10 pages, there are these like half pages as well.
They're like, if you look at like Injustice is a good example, I think.
Yeah.
That did it, where it is like it's formatted for a horizontal screen.
The one I tried back when it was coming out was there was a Supergirl one, which was Sterling Gates, I think, was writing it. And like it was these horizontal pages, but they were actually like, because the physical version essentially took the 2 horizontal pages and put them, top and bottom
together.
for a page. So they were really short, and they felt so short, and it was hard to almost remember what was happening because they were just too short to, get a full story out of it.
They binge really well though.
Yeah.
Oh, once you've got them all, sure, yeah, but
but the thing with this one is I feel because these came from the Giants. Now I don't know about this one. I don't know if this was planned for Giants and they turned around and put them, out here first.
That'll be why. That'll be why the regular format.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's really good. I am gonna pick this up when they collect it, or if they collect it, because this is a all timer. I feel. Yeah.
I just
based off the first issue.
Just had a quick look that the Aquaman. These are just the first issues. Aquaman was 16 pages and Flash was 17. So they're all going to be around that 16 to 18 pages, which for $1 is pretty reasonable.
Right.
That's good though.
Yeah, and then I also read the second issue of the Superman one by Venditti, and I feel he is leaning towards the Silver Age-ness of Superman, especially in that issue, because that whole issue is about this gambling ring that's going on in Metropolis, where Superman finds out that they're gambling on if he can stop something, right? So how he acts. So if they think there's going to be a fire, someone will go start a fire, and then they'll bet on how quick he responds to it if he blows it out with
great.
Right? And so the main villain ends up being this character who's called the Gambler, and him and Superman have some words, and it's very Silver Agey, and I didn't enjoy it as much as the first issue, but it's still a whole lot of fun.
So what you're saying is I probably won't regret picking a couple of these up later.
No. And then I picked up, based off of one of our listeners, told me how great the Flash issues have been. So I picked up both of those.
The Gail Simone ones.
The Gail Simone, yeah. And so I started it before we were recording, and then we started recording. So I'm only a couple pages in, and it's definitely its own continuity. Because
is it Barry?
It's Barry, and it's Iris almost, but Iris from the show. and it's set before they're an actual couple, and he is constantly stumbling over himself. And it's the most adorable Barry.
So is
Like,
is it
it's
supposed to be in the continuity of the show, or is it just a
no,
no?
it's I think
Inspired
it's
by.
yeah, and I think it's this thing where there's no continuity, so they can kind of do what they want, and it's Simone doing this is what Barry Allen is to me, and I would guess she's a big fan of the Iris.
That makes
Or
sense.
the
And
TV version of
I also
Irish.
think there's a smart element of, given that these were sold in like Walmart,
Mhm.
the point
Yeah.
of these giants was to
Yep.
try and hit a new audience.
Right.
I think it's safe to say the Flash TV show has a bigger audience than the Flash comic.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So why not try and be
Well,
a little bit more
and it's-
recognizable, maybe for
and
those
it-
fans?
And it's really only how she looks, because she's still Iris as we know her, right? She's a reporter that's, constantly getting into trouble.
I mean, technically, the show version kind of became that.
They did it for like 6 episodes.
Yeah, like it
Yeah,
happened,
and then
kind of.
remind you of it that every
Yeah.
twice
I
a
actually
season.
really like Candice Patton in the role. But like
Yeah.
a lot of the characters on those shows, the writing in the CW just does not
Yeah.
give them.
I
Well-
think there are very few actors in terms of the core cast on any of those shows that I really dislike. I think they're all doing their best, and
Yeah.
even when they're not, if I don't think they're the best actors, I don't have anything
Well,
against them
like-
as people. They seem nice.
So
people.
Dominic Purcell as Heatwave is not really Heatwave as we know him from the comics. He is the Legends of Tomorrow's version of Heatwave, and if that Heatwave were to bleed back in the comics, I'm okay with that because he's my favorite character on that show.
Oh, he's great.
It's
Matt,
so good.
Yeah.
How far have you gotten? I don't want to say too much in case you haven't gotten there yet.
No.
The other stuff with Mick, is
So-
that what you're getting?
Let me
at?
just say, is there any how should I put this?
Typewriter.
Romance novel?
Yes.
Yes,
See?
there is.
So I just watched the Groundhog Day episode.
Oh, so good.
Hedgehog Day.
That's where they find out. Yep,
Hedgehog
that
Day.
one was really good. And yeah, so those characters really are growing on me on the
Yeah,
show. But
That might be the best episode of that season.
I like
Yeah.
Zarya a lot.
Huh?
And I already kind of like
Zarya's-
Zarya, but Zarya was really good after that episode because I really
Yeah.
did like
That
her.
episode brought her into the group a lot more.
Yeah.
well, I like how she's trying to hack the time stream, right? And she's looking for well, no, just because they say it works like this doesn't mean it has to work like this. And so I like all of
love
that.
show so much.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
so close to having a full season to binge. I'm so excited.
I know. It's
Yep.
going to be so good, isn't it?
So I'm up to that point. I've met Bebo. I don't
Yes.
quite love Bebo as
Wait,
much as you guys do,
But
Bebo's
hold on,
really-
yeah, hold on. But you haven't got
Finished.
to the season 3 finale yet, though, have you?
No.
Aha, aha.
So
Yeah,
you've had
so-
introduction to Bebo in the Viking,
Yes.
episode, right?
But you've
Yes.
not had the payoff.
Nope.
Yeah.
So
The one true Bebo.
The one true Bebo.
right. So I feel like these comics are doing that kind of thing where whatever the writer wants to do within reason of these are your version, because I even feel like Venditti Superman's a lot like that, where it's bits and pieces from others. And now with Barry and then with Swamp Thing, it's kind of the perfect balance of all of them, and they don't have to fit into continuity. These are just stories you want to tell, and I think they're working thus far. And I mean, I'm probably biased because I like all three of those creators, like Gail Simone and then Mark Russell and Robert Venditti. So, but yeah, no. So 3-4 pages into the Flash story, I'm super into it. So, so far these are
That's good.
good. And I
Yeah.
was missing DC. A lot of Marvel for me. So
I'm thinking of picking up the Flash one and Swamp Thing. Aquaman seems to be changing team
yeah,
issue because the first issue was Orlando and so is the third, but the second one's not.
that's why I skipped, because I'm not
Yeah,
not taking the gamble with Orlando, which Orlando's not a bad writer. There's
I mean,
there's
if I was
a
going to take a
niche
gamble,
that I like
$1
is-
is the price I'd be willing to gamble on.
yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I've tried enough Orlando. I know my opinion on Orlando at this
Exactly.
point.
I'm
Yeah.
also quite tempted by the Palmiot and Connor Wonder Woman stuff.
Yeah. Right in your wheelhouse. So
It is.
yeah, so-
I love their stuff.
Yeah.
but yeah,
All right.
so I'm plugging away through X-23. I'll probably be done by next week.
Yeah.
With it at this point. But I was worried. I'm not gonna sit there and lie about it. I was worried as of last week, going, I don't like this as much as everyone else. But all right, so when I'm done with that one, I have X-Men Red, or I have West Coast Avengers. They're
Assuming
both about the same.
I assume you're going straight into X23 after All New Wolverine.
Should I, or should I go to
It's a
X-Men
direct
Red?
follow, direct
Yeah, I would
sequel.
finish that. I would do that 12
Okay.
issues and then move on to whatever you're doing next.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Also, did you read the annual for All New Wolverine?
Yes.
I think
Okay.
so?
Because I had to hunt down where it showed up because it was just there. It wasn't part of a collection. I got the singles.
Joe, you're making me want to check.
Maybe
now.
I didn't.
It was Spider-Gwen and Laura
Oh, I did read this. I do remember reading
and their
this.
adventures. Okay.
Yeah.
I had to track down when it was, or because it wasn't. It just said the year it came out, and I was like, this does not help me.
I read it between issues 5 and 6.
Okay, yeah, I read it between 6 and 7.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much because it's kind of standalone, but
It doesn't matter. Or I read it between 7 after, because they already have Jonathan. So, but yeah,
Yes.
but it was pretty good. It's really the first I've read of Spider-Gwen, and I don't know if it was just Tom Taylor, but I thought she was pretty cool. So yeah, but yeah, I had to hunt what issue this came out in between, what time of year, and then I just kind of guessed, and I ended up guessing right because when the next arc picks up, it talks about her adventures being, her adventures with Spider-Gwen.
That sounds about right.
yeah. Well,
Yep.
Spider-Gwen's good fun in West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
She
sorry.
really is.
Oh no, Gwen. That's Gwenpool.
That was
That's
Sorry.
Gwenpool.
I'm missing
Yeah.
I'm missing my Gwens up.
Yeah.
Too many
So-
Gwens.
All right, so I should do
Okay.
X-23 next because it's Samaki,
Yeah.
and it's a direct follow-up to.
I mean, X-Men
Olsen.
Red is good, but it was annoyingly cut short because it was only 10 issues
Yeah.
or 12 issues,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well,
It was
that's
fun.
why I'm going because still my Kate Bishop Hawkeye is still almost my
I'd
favorite.
say West Coast Avengers is better, but X-Men Red's still
Yeah.
worth reading.
Yeah. So and then I have a Young Avengers sitting there, the Gillen and McKelvey.
I saw, because
Just-
obviously Marvel
Yeah.
just announced all their next, 6 weeks or whatever of what they're shipping. And they're doing a collection of all the Gillen McKelvey Young Avengers, like a complete
Okay.
edition. And I already have all the stuff on Comixology. But I mean, I could go for another version of that book because, god damn, it is hands down my favorite Marvel thing I've ever read.
That's as long as it treats Kate as a main character, I'll be down with it.
It's basic. I'd say the two main leads are Kate and Kid Loki.
Okay.
But Kid Loki mainly because that's what Gillen was coming off
Right.
of doing in
Right.
Journey into Mystery and stuff with that.
Right.
So
I know,
It makes
that's fine.
sense.
Kate Bishop's up there with Starfire and Poison Ivy at this point
I get it.
as characters I'll read no matter what. So
Or one would argue better than those two characters, but whatever.
Pete just hasn't read the right Starfire stories yet. That's for sure.
yeah,
I mean, I like Starfire more than Poison Ivy.
well, that's fine. She's sometimes a villain. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Then. So where do we go next? Does Connor want a break?
Up to you guys. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, Connor could have a break. So we'll talk about wrestling here quickly. And I did catch up. I hadn't watched Dynamite last week. I did have 2 Dynamites to watch this week though, so I skimmed some bits of it a bit more than I normally do.
Mhm.
But I watched some of the big stuff from this week, of course. I thought this week's Dynamite was probably the best one it's had in probably like a month. It had some good matches in there. The tournament matches were pretty good, and I thought that the disqualification tag team match was mostly pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I didn't like the end of Darby and Cody.
That's fair.
Um,
I liked it in theory. I think the execution was
Yeah.
a little bit off. I did love
Yep.
them being dicks though and taking each other's moves. I loved Cody doing the
Yeah.
figure 4. I loved Cody doing the coffin drop like an
Yep.
asshole.
I-
Like those were good moments.
Outside the finish, it was a fantastic match,
Joe-
which
Joe-
we've seen out of those two guys.
Do you know what I like about the storytelling? The idea of them keep having matches and Darby not being able to win. I love the idea that they're both super faces in the company, and their tactic for this was that they both play heels, even though they're still faces. But the idea being that they both get to each other so much that they both turn into heels when they're fighting. I like that. I like that detail.
I did. So, and then the other match, I don't like Dustin. I think he's fine for what he does, but in the ring, except for that Cody match, there really wasn't a match. And I wasn't even big on that match.
I like that match with Cody, and I like this match with Archer because I think he's good at serving his purpose in the story. And I think one of the things that AEW has done for me, because trying to watch some WWE over the last like 5-10 years, whatever it's been, it got to a point where the storytelling in that company is such garbage. The character work is such garbage. Or your mate's going. That basically, if it was either the in-ring work would get a chance to be good, and that's when it would be good, or that was it. Everything else was bad, and there was no redeeming qualities. AEW is reminding me that if the character and story work is strong enough, it can overcome sometimes only okay in-ring work. And I think the storytelling in that match was great. Dustin bleeding, Cody stopping the Taliban from throwing in, which called back to the MJF thing. All these details, all that stuff was good. Another example of this, one of maybe my favorite segment of the whole night on Dynamite this week was the Britt Baker package. Her in the dentist office doing the how to be a role model and like picking on Tony Schiavone, talking about don't be fat, don't wear glasses unless you're a doctor. Like her delivery of that stuff. Yeah. Because if you remember her last couple of matches even were really entertaining. And her ring work is getting better, but it's not that great yet. But the reason why the matches are good is her character work in the matches. And it's so
She's
defined.
doing everything.
It's good.
Yep. And then her standing at ringside too, only adding to that. Like her yelling at Cody.
Hitting people with a shoe is her thing now.
And then you can't prove it. You don't know that's my shoe. Like everyone just saw her do it. Like, her that type of stuff's so good. My highlight of this show, as stupid as it's gonna sound,
was this the bubbly bunch?
Bubbly bunch?
Oh yeah.
Just because the fact that what they're doing A, is designed for social media, and B, and for the quarantine and stuff. This is the type of content that wrestling shows should be producing. Right?
I was not expecting the cameos.
No. And it's not even about the cameos though. It's how well the Inner Circle guys handled everything at the beginning. Even Hager, right? Hager's not anybody I ever want to hear talk because he just can't. But the fact that how he was handling it, how they're attacking each other through the phone for the first ever brawl.
Yeah, basically what this was is they take turns punching the camera, and then we see like one of the other ones react. But then it sort of starts to daisy chain into other people that aren't them. It went to Peter Avalon. It went to Lou Ferrigno, of all places. It went to Kevin Smith.
Chainsaw Bob.
Who's been on AEW way back in the first Dynamite, so I guess he's friends with someone.
He turns to Jericho.
But we have Lou Ferrigno. We have Jericho's dad popped up, and then it ended, of all people, with Vicky Guerrero, which I mean, I guess makes sense because you imagine that Jericho's friends with that sect of people. But like obviously associate her with WWE because of her time there.
And she didn't do her typical WWE line. They went around that, but it was still the same spirit. So if you're familiar with her, it still landed. And it was very creative, and I wasn't expecting A, the cameos, or B, any of the other stuff. And again, this becomes talks about how much I love Jericho. All of his commentary lines this week, just like how he's constantly putting over people, but like when he talks about Moxley, he talks about how he's illegitimate because he stole the title from him. And or when he'll talk about Darby Allin and how much Darby's caused him problems, it's still, he's very good at what he does, and that's why we don't like him. Like I never feel like he's ever shitting on anybody. Even when he's talking negatively about him, it's still the point is, let's talk about who we're trying to make as stars. And it's just, it's really, really good.
He's really good at it. He is. The tag team match, which was Best Friends versus Jimmy Havoc and Sabian, obviously with Penelope and Orange Cassidy at ringside. Part of me does think that they were putting so much effort into this. It was a shame there was no crowd. But honestly, these guys, the way like Havoc was like setting the chair up so that the legs were sticking in the air to like slam people on, it felt brutal. It looked brutal. I get into this match. I had fun with it. They're really setting Best Friends up. And I think the big thing is that for the last like 4 or 5 weeks, it's all the taped episodes they did in like one day. So the roster's very thin. They only have a set amount of people. And next week, they're actually doing it live again from Jacksonville because the Florida rules have loosened up a little bit for them to do that. And I'm kind of excited to have some people back because they're advertising, I think, Kazarian's going to be there, which isn't a big name, but the fact that they're bringing some names back who have not been there for like 4 weeks.
Moxley and his whole thing, he had this whole promo, and there's just something I love about him. And I don't know if it's because it's the real guy that's peeking through these, but him saying he's going to throw the dogs in the truck and head, haul ass to Jacksonville and whatever. There was something that was more authentic in that than anything he had said. And I liked his character at WWE. I was Dean Ambrose won me over, but there was just something there, that poked through that I really enjoy. So, but yeah, I know he's going to be there. I'm thinking MJF's going to show up because they keep teasing him.
Oh, by the way, yeah, that was really funny. Him saying he got over his hangnail, only to reveal that he nicked himself. Mainly, it was a bit that wasn't that funny in concept, but MJF's so good at it that he made it hilarious.
Yep. Well, and then I was telling Ash, because she's invested in MJF because she likes how much of a prissy, from what she has seen about him, and she's like she called him if John Ralphio could fight, because that's kind of who MJF is, and so anyways,
I can't wait to fight in front of 6 or 7 of my peers. that was one of the lines I thought was funny.
But like the fact that he's really not had a match since he's won that ring, and it goes like, it just makes sense for his character. Mm-hmm. You don't question that why he's not wrestling.
Well, he's had tag team matches, just to correct that slightly.
No, he's wrestled, but I said it's like he hasn't.
Yeah.
Wardlow's been the focus of those. Or the Butcher and the Blade have been the focus.
Yeah.
And he lets them come in or, do all the dirty work, and then he steals the win. Like, he hasn't had a one-on-one style, since the Cody match, and it works wonders for his character. Because they're building this is someone that you're going to want to see beat, So, yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, they've got bunch of squash matches. There was a Brody Lee one. There was a
with Marco Stunt.
Yeah.
When Marco Stunt finally beats one of these big guys, it's gonna be a moment.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be huge.
Like, it's gonna be in front of a crowd, and we're gonna, because I've been on the record, I don't like Marco Stunt, but I don't know if it's who they have him working with, but between Archer and now Brody Lee, I'm buying into his underdogness, And I think a lot of that too comes with me, that when I see someone that the internet gloms onto, I'm kind of like, so at first it happened with Darby Allin, and then he's won me over. And now with Marco Stunt, I'm like, I get it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like the internet hated Marco Stunt when he first appeared. They all said he was too small. They said he was stupid. Like
parts of it. So maybe because I know a lot of the guys that I follow on Twitter, the local wrestlers I know, were big on Marco Stunt. They're like, you guys haven't seen what he's done yet. And I'm kind of like, I get it. He's small.
Because if anything, it was the opposite. He was the underdog in the internet because everyone was making fun of him. But
so maybe it's just my section of the internet. But like, I kind of was like, give me more Jungle Boy and less Marco Stunt.
He puts on a show though. I think he always gets the matches going, and so.
But like this match against Brody Lee wasn't anything like the Lance Archer match, right? It was only similar, and it was small guy versus really big guy. But when he started getting stuff in on Brody Lee, I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah. The only other thing I want to just briefly mention is that they did like a 2-part thing. One was like last week, one was this week, of Scorpio Sky. It was a little sort of like piece on his life. I thought that was really good at painting him as a future star. It did a really good job of giving him some character time. So I thought it was cool. So the only thing for next week is there a tag team match with the Les X Gods, which is Jericho and Guevara versus Moxley and who's Moxley with? Was it Omega? I think it's Omega.
Maybe.
I think it was Omega.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And I think it's a street fight, so that should be a riot. So good stuff. So we're getting some people back on TV that we've not seen in a while next week. Hopefully we get some others that have been gone for a while, but good. So yeah, that was basically it. That was Dynamite for the week.
Yeah, we all knew that they had people that could go in the ring. The fact that they're pulling off storytelling is that's the wonder. That's why I'm enjoying it.
And they're doing it gimped. I cannot wait till there's crowds again, because some of the I will say I enjoyed that happening, but I'm kind of bummed that the first Orange Cassidy win happened last week, because it was like with no crowd. Come on, the pop for that would have been amazing.
And there's something about their theme song that I just love, The Best Friends. Like it's Like I hear it and I get happy. So like I don't know if that's just like the magic of music, right? That those are the notes that when they hit, that's what you're supposed to feel. But like it hits and I get excited, and I like all three of those dudes. Like, Trent and Chuck.
I always loved Cassidy, but Trent and Chuck have
Yeah.
won me over
Yeah.
the
I
time.
so I went to a Ring of Honor taping like a year and a half ago now, and so when Ring of Honor was they were very, very low, but they were in a 4-way tag match with Los Ingobernables, so Sonata and Evil, the Young Bucks, the Best Friends, and Kazarian and Sky, I want to say. So I don't think it was Daniels. And like you have all these great workers and then the Best Friends, and the entire gimmick of that match was the Best Friends trying to hug. So every time they would go to hug, one of the other teams would break it up. And it shouldn't have been as compelling as it was. This was like the dark main event, you know? I was in my seat, like completely enraptured. So that was the first time I became aware of those two guys. And I've been waiting for it, and I feel like finally we're at that level with them, right? Where
those two have worked their ass off because they've been on every single Dynamite during this period, so they put in the work. But see that day or two they spent taping all of these last 4 Dynamites, they put in work those 2 days.
They did.
So yeah, that's Dynamite. So looking forward to next week. All right, we'll move on then. I guess we'll dive into movies. I've got I think 2 to talk about. I know
I can pick a selection of.
Yes.
You can pick a couple to talk about. Where I said you're listening,
I know. I'm going to talk about a handful of them, just in general, and a couple that I actually want to talk about.
Yeah. Real quick, give me the worst one you watched.
The one that I enjoyed the least was definitely Extraction.
Okay, don't like that.
Yeah, I know people are getting really into. I thought it was really dull. It had. I'll just start with Extraction, seeing as Matt's got me onto it. It's made by a stunt coordinator, I think it was, who it's his first turn as a director. It's Hemsworth. This is on Netflix, so anyone can just go check this out if you want. It's a Netflix movie. It's fine. It's kind of dull, military. It's it's Hemsworth trying to rescue this kidnapped kid in India, I think. It's like the son of a really rich guy. And there's a lot of action stuff with Hemsworth being the badass soldier type. There's one sequence that's about 11 minutes of it's the actual extraction, so to speak. That's pretty solid.
Main event.
The main event. The rest of it just boring, dull. Hopper shows up at one point from Stranger Things, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say Dennis Hopper's been dead for a while. What are you talking about?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You should have just said Hellboy, and we would have picked up.
Oh yeah.
David Harbour, god damn it! Just say.
I forgot his name, so I just went, oh, Hopper from Stranger Things. People know. Yeah, he shows up about halfway through and has some stuff. And honestly, I don't get the appeal of this movie. I don't see why everyone's raving about it.
I've been trying to watch it. Now she keeps saying, okay, we'll watch it. Okay, well, and then we don't. And then she turned around and told me that the director is Chris Evans' stunt double. And I was like, then why aren't we watching it? You love Chris Evans.
Oh, is it his stunt double? Okay, I didn't know who. I knew he was a stunt double, stunt coordinator.
Yeah, that's what she had said. However, I don't know if that's true, but being that it's Chris Evans and that's like
she probably knows better than you.
She probably knows better than I would. But I do know he was a stunt coordinator on Winter Soldier and Civil War. I might have those wrong. On Civil War and Endgame.
Okay. So I know that's his background, and I don't agree. It's clearly coming from that angle of and I think that's probably what's inspired people to compare it to John Wick, right? Mm-hmm. In that the same sort of background from the directors. I don't think it's comparable at all, and I don't mean that in quality. I just mean the type of film it is. It's just not the same sort of thing.
I didn't even realize this was something anyone cared enough to talk about. I saw the image on Netflix. I went, that was a Netflix movie, and ignored it and never give it a second.
I thought that first. Then, like 2 or 3 days later, I've seen like so many tweets. I was like, oh, fine, I guess I'll just watch it.
See, I really love Hemsworth, and the Russos have a lot of name value as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to watch it, and I'll probably enjoy it. But yeah, I saw Connor talking about it.
Uh-huh.
Huh?
I hope you enjoy it more than I do.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I'm down to.
Well, yeah, I'm going to start with a movie called Killer Kate, which It's an interesting specimen. I watched this on stream last. Was that last Saturday night? It must have been last Saturday night. So it wasn't that long after we did the last episode. But Killer Kate is a movie that I was hoping would be good. We watched it on stream, and very quickly it was apparent that it was not going to be good. That it was the acting was off. It had that thing where every single scene was just people talking with reverse shot, and the cinematography. I cracked some jokes. I cracked some jokes about George Lucas directing it because of the prequels. And
is this from 2018?
Yeah, and the only thing that was good from the start was the music was quite good. It had a good synth soundtrack that it felt like it belonged like a Carpenter movie from like the 80s. So the music was quite good, but the movie was not living up close to it. Everything felt very stilted. Everything was brightly lit. It's meant to be like a horror movie, and everything looked brightly lit. I mean, obviously it was during the day, but usually that has a look to it. And then at the end, or when stuff gets going at night, every room is still brightly lit. It was really weird. But here's the weird thing. So first half of this movie was painfully boring. Painfully boring. You're begging for sweet merciful death. When the actual horror stuff starts happening, because it's this like a hen night or bachelorette sort of like weekend, we're at this kind of Airbnb. I think in the movie they have like a fake, it's like Air or LAB&B or something they call it, and they have, and I'm going to spoil this, by the way, so full spoilers for this movie, right? Which you don't mind because it's bad, right? So, but it's basically this team of killers who are all related, this family of killers. But it's not like Texas Chainsaw, where they're all these like inbred like weirdos or like that. Like they're all just kind of really boring characters who have barely any personality. And whenever it cuts to them setting up, I think it's meant to be a horror comedy, but when it's with the main characters, with Kate and the rest of them, they're like playing it dead straight as if it's a proper horror movie. We're meant to care about these characters so that when stuff happens, it's dead serious. But when the actual horror stuff starts happening, where they start coming after them and start trying to kill them, it turns into something that's, I mean, it's still terrible, but it's laughably terrible. Where once stuff actually starts happening, I was finding myself like cackling at how ridiculous it was. The kills were silly. Kate ends up staking someone with a bit of wood, and obviously there was some jokes made about the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer in that instance. So here's what. So first thing, right? So one of them gets killed. The first character of the group gets killed in front of the rest of them, and they're all freaking out as you would expect. Not long before this, one of them had ordered pizza. So this pizza guy shows up at the door, and they open the door and they start like sort of like frantically saying, "Well, come in," and he's confused, and they bring him in, and okay, fine, whatever. So we've got this extra, and I was thinking, okay, they've ordered pizza, so this is like an extra person to be killed. They're going to think there's someone that can help them, and then they'll get murdered in the last second, whatever. They bring him into the house, and okay, whatever, fine. So the main character, Kate, and her sister, the sister's the one who's getting married. They just casually open the pizza box and start eating pizza.
I mean, when you're hungry, I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Right after they've just witnessed someone being murdered, they're in a siege situation without their phones. There was a plot reason why they had their phones.
If you're in a siege situation, eating food when you can is the most important thing you can do.
It made no sense.
Not when the pizza guy was just there where you're sitting duck.
I started laughing hysterically because it just made no sense. Like if it was a thing where they were going to say, oh, one of them was like agitated, so they're like stress eating or something. No. Both of them just start casually eating pizza as they're trying to explain to the pizza guy that there's killers outside that are trying to murder them and that he's also in danger. The whole thing plays so weird. Also, the fact that the pizza guy just kind of gets away and doesn't even get killed, and then like they decide to go for a nap and think like there's still at least like one or two killers outside, and you're going for a nap. You're going to sleep in the middle of the night. What? No, this makes no sense. And then not only that, they try to do the your next thing where Kate kind of becomes a badass, where she's like killing them with their own weapons and whatever, but it's kind of like accidental. It's not really like a confident thing like you're next. So here's the thing with the title. There's a running thing throughout the movie where her sister is there with her two friends that she works with because they're all teachers, and Kate's kind of the odd one out who doesn't really know the other two. She's kind of there, and her relationship with her sister's kind of awkward, right? Their friends all have this thing where they all have nicknames where it's like Moody Mel and things like that, and they're trying to come up with Kate's version all throughout the movie, right? And I thought, okay, I get it, right? They're going to like struggle to think of one, but for the audience, like, no, she's Killer Kate. No. It's not left to us to come up with that. It's not left to us to decide that she's Killer Kate, but she's killing the bad guys. There's a climactic moment at the end of this movie where the main villain who's behind this killer family turns to her and says, "Who the F are you anyway?" And right before she whacks him with like the baseball bat with nails sticking out of it, whatever it is, she's like, "I'm Killer Kate," and then hits him. Cackled. But there's one thing I still have to talk about, right?
I feel like I could enjoy this while drunk.
I have to talk about the fact the motivation for the killers when it's revealed is something else, right? Now I mentioned this was like an LAB&B, this was like an Airbnb kind of movie brand, right? Which, if you don't know what that is, typically it's someone kind of like they either their own home or they've got like a home that they've done up to rent out as like a holiday destination. So it's kind of like it's like an alternate to a hotel, right? You rent someone's house for the weekend or whatever. The motivation of the villain is that it turns out the dad of this family owns a motel, and this is his attempt to get to the to the Airbnb industry
because no one's using his motel anymore.
Yeah, he wants to get bad press to say that if you go to an Airbnb, you might get brutally murdered. So you should use your local motel.
I've seen Psycho, so if you go to a motel, you could get murdered too.
That's his whole plan.
I would not be surprised if that contributed to the decline of motels.
Possibly. But that's his whole plan. He makes this big speech at the end, and then she kills him. What was really also odd about this is that she actually like kills the other killers, and is like they've kind of like they're saved themselves, or Kate saved them, and it's her and her sister, and they're fine. She actually goes and hunts down the main bad guy, the dad, at the motel, and like the other brother who's sort of there working at the motel. And I'm like, these two weren't self-defense. You just kind of casually went there and murdered them, which would be fine if the movie ramped up to it, like, okay, she's out for revenge now. After she does it, she sits in the car with her sister and goes, "Yeah, we're going to have to go and report all this. Do you think I may have to go to court because I, like, murdered these two people?" Yeah, no shit! No shit! Here's the thing.
Man, I wish I enjoyed talking about bad movies as much as Pete does.
Pete, where's the streaming? Because I'm drinking now, and maybe I need something to do tonight.
Prime US.
Got it.
It's on Amazon Prime US.
So can I just share some things? Because there's not a Wikipedia page for it, but there's an IMDb page.
Go for it.
Some of these titles on the user reviews are just fantastic. Painfully bad, unambitious, and unoriginal. That's fine. What a waste of my time. This one's my favorite, though. Turn it off after they get to the house.
No. It's the opposite. The first half's boring, and then it gets bad good.
Right. So this person was just like, no, I liked all the stuff before they get to the house.
And then it got silly, and I hated it.
Yeah, so
it was painfully boring before that. I mean, I wouldn't recommend watching it on your own. Maybe booze will help, but I mean, it was funny for me because I was watching it with the chat, so there was hilarity.
Booze will have me covered, don't worry.
Yeah.
Some guy gave it 10 stars. Best funny movie 2018. I used to laugh watching horrors, but this one is another planet.
This is a new movie, or newish.
Yeah,
I assume this was an older thing that you.
That's just from last year, or to 2018. Sorry. Here's the thing. There's one like the killers prepping is clearly supposed to be a horror comedy. The stuff with Kate, for the most part, doesn't feel like it's supposed to be. There's one killer in particular who's definitely just comic relief, and he actually has one genuinely funny joke. There's one genuinely funny joke. It gets dragged out too long, but there's one genuinely funny joke with him. So yeah, I'll say that much. But that's bad.
Sounds real bad.
Yeah, it's bad. All right, Matt. Give us a movie.
Yeah, so I watched two. I watched one good, one bad. So I'll keep with the bad because my bad was entertaining. At least I had fun with it.
That's interesting. We've all started with what we perceived as bad movies.
Yeah. So I watched Primeval, which is from 2007, gigantic croc movie that is trying really hard to be Blood Diamond. Like, it really wants to be Blood Diamond.
Joe's so funny about this is that I've not seen this, but this was on a Screams After Midnight Patreon vote last year.
I've seen. I know the poster. I can picture it.
Yeah. So this is one that I wanted to see, but I remember when it came out initially, they were really leaning hard on the Blood Diamond aspect and not so much on the gigantic croc. So I was like, I guess I won't see it. I should have went and saw it because this probably would have been way fun in the theater. It's not even a B movie. It's definitely more of a C movie. But it's got Dominic Purcell, who we talked about earlier, as Heatwave, trying to do an American accent. I wish he was, because if he was, this movie would be 10 times better. because the plot of the movie is there's this giant crocodile based in real life in Africa in a small country called Burundi named Gustav, and apparently it's
Wait, the crocodile's Gustav?
Yeah, they call it Gustav because they named it after, they named a king after the crocodile. There's some plot of dialogue, but the locals call him Gustav, and it's probably after a king in the area or whatever. And it's been snatching villagers for years, but it ends up there's a conflict going on in Burundi, a civil war that spills out from Rwanda.
I'm really confused because Gustav sounds very Eastern European, Russian to me.
Right, so
African.
Gustav. So if you know your history about and colonialism of Africa, right? You have a lot of bad stuff in Belgium.
I don't.
Yeah, so Belgium, the Netherlands, all of them, there was a heavy colonial that stirred up a lot of problems now. So I'm guessing that's where the Gustav name comes from. Okay. Right? It sounds of that region.
Sure.
So there's a civil war going on there, and there's like an epidemiologist that gets killed early in the movie by Gustav, which then gets reported. So the news a news producer in New York wants to get footage of Gustav. We're gonna send you there with a reptile expert and a film crew, and it's I almost called him Mick, but it's Dominic Purcell's character, and then like I would call her a Lois Lane type, who she's a spunky TV journalist.
I'm getting the impression that you enjoyed this more than you should have.
Parts of it, right? They go over there and then they start really hammering the Civil War aspect, which I understand is a tragedy. But when you're selling a movie with a gigantic croc, I don't want real human tragedy, right? So I fully understand what they were trying to do, but it just didn't go because Gustav. So the Civil War that's going on, Gustav predates that. Like he's been terrorizing locals before this started. But then they get to the point that basically because of the Civil War and the bodies that are being dumped into the river and the availability of people, Gustav's decided that people are just way more worth it than other of its normal prey. So they introduced you need the Great White Hunter character who has a personal tie to Gustav, and they want to bring him in live, but the hunter is like, no, we're killing this bastard. It's caused way too much problems. And so all the stuff with the crocodile are great, right? It's not anything that you haven't seen before, which make it a great B movie, right? He's hopping up, taking people.
It's a big crocodile movie. Got it.
Yeah, right. And the CG's super dodgy, and like there's way too much blood spatter at points. But
so it's a big crocodile movie from the late 2000s.
Yeah. So, and then it starts getting into that. Well, you can't trust the soldiers because soldiers work for, get this, the local warlord calls himself Little Gustav because the only person that kills more people than him is Gustav the crocodile. So now they're trying to deal with this, and it gets real messy. And there are parts of it that I'm like, I wish they were just hunting the gigantic crocodile. Like, this would have been way more fun if this was like a Lake Placid but set in Africa, but it's really watchable. Like, I thought it was going to go way worse early on where the dialogue just is not well directed. And I know the actors in the movie, you have Orlando Jones, you have Dominic Purcell, and Brooke Langton, who are all okay actors and other stuff I've seen them in. This, though, the dialogue's super wooden. Once the hunter character shows up, his name's Jacob, he's just the exposition engine. Like, he just starts saying why the Civil War's happening, what's happened in the history of the area.
I've got two options here of what to watch.
Yeah. If you want one that's a little bit more enjoyable, Primeval's there.
Where's that streaming, Matt?
I watched it on HBO.
So
it's on Go and Now. Yeah. But it's one that's been on my radar for a while. I don't know, I love my creature movies. But so I don't want to say I was disappointed because I want it to be a B movie, but just because it keeps having to remind you that humans are the biggest, the most dangerous animal. And just kind of the clunky direction and storytelling. There's a good version of this out there. And it's there. It was based, when it said it was based on there's a special from 2004 and I want to say it's the world's most dangerous crocodile. That's actually about the real hunt for Gustav that now I'm going to track down. It's like an hour-long documentary because I need to know, because apparently he's still out there. Like, there are reports that he's been caught and killed, but it's a gigantic crocodile, so anything. So which then led me on a Google search of how big a Nile croc is. And good Lord, I thought the salties in Australia
That is the most
were
mad
scary.
Google search I've ever heard of.
Yeah. Like, they pulled one out of the same region that, I kid you not, was 18 feet long. It took, like, the picture of it all the way, and I was just like, oh, man. Like,
That's pretty big.
yeah, and I've seen saltwater crocs at zoos that are massive, right? Those are the ones that Steve Irwin used to deal with, and they actually can swim in the open ocean, which is terrifying when you think about it.
It really is, because
right?
you worry enough about sharks, not alone crocodiles.
Right. Now you have a crocodile, which, not that they keep score, but for all intents, like, apparently they do remember. So, like, if there's a crocodile that lives in the area, they will get retribution. Like,
Matt, have you watched Archer?
no.
Oh,
I watched the first.
He is terrified of crocodiles, and it becomes a huge thing about halfway through.
As you said, it is a show that I need to watch because I did watch most of the first season, and then for whatever reason it fell off of whatever streaming service I was on.
I would say it gets better because the first season's pretty good, but there's a lot of jokes that they set up in that are fine, but they get funnier because they redo them over and over and over, and they're just these recurring gags.
Yeah.
That are funny enough they're fine the first time. But
right, but it wears you down.
They're goddamn hilarious.
So I'll go back, but he should be afraid of crocodiles. One of my best friends she's so terrified of alligators and crocodiles. When we go to places that have them, she won't go near them. It's like my dad with snakes. She doesn't want to look at them. Nothing. I get it, although I'm not. I look at them with more of awe. Like, I'm afraid of birds, which is always something that people laugh at. Like, any kind of bird, I don't mess with.
You don't mess with those.
Hitchcock's the birds mess me up.
What is it? Is it that they can fly and just kind of get you from any direction, almost?
Well, it's that, and it's when I was younger, my dad worked at a school that was special needs. That in order to help the kids teach responsibility, they had a barn. So they had chickens, they had a couple horses, goats. They also had peacocks. Peacocks are super territorial, especially the men.
Yes.
Or the males.
Yeah.
So when my dad would leave 4-year-old me to be like, hey, stay here with the goats and chickens.
Did you get attacked by a peacock?
I got attacked, and there's the emotional. My sister-in-law, who's a therapist, claims she could help me with this. However, I don't want to ever get to the point where I'm close enough to birds, so it's fine. I have a healthy fear.
It's fine.
But yeah,
you can keep your distance from most birds pretty easily.
Yeah, right. However, I did try to befriend a raven at work around Halloween because we had a Halloween like carnival, right?
Did you decide you wanted to be Odin?
Well, I basically wanted, if this was Human or Munin, I wanted to
get on his good side.
So they can send something to Odin. But so the kids left a big mess, and so there was food everywhere, right? So I'm out there picking it up and whatnot, and there's this big black raven just cawing. And I was like, well, I know they believe in revenge because people have worn masks and they've done studies that ravens and crows will remember you and they will attack you, right, if you mess with them. So I was like, I don't want any of that because this is a place I work at every day and I'm outside a lot. So that week I started throwing scraps to this raven and it started to get closer and closer to me. And I was like, oh man, did I just make a huge mistake?
Birds,
they are. And turns out after that week, the raven didn't show back up, so I hope nothing bad happened to it. But that was the closest I've ever become to befriending a bird. So, but yeah.
What a story!
It is.
I like how this started with talking about a movie and ended with Matt's.
Because again,
actually, let me respond to that properly. What's the story, Matt? Right.
Yes. You put your opinion in your back pocket, Pete. God, that movie's great.
All right. Let's make the second round of us a bit quicker because we'll be here all goddamn day if we all spend that much longer.
Hey, I was really quick on my movie.
Well,
you too.
You be quicker than another one. Go on.
All right. I'm actually going to group together 4 here really quickly. No. because these are all the Studio Ghibli movies that I watched this week in my continuing watch through of them. Two of these four I'd seen before, and they are considered amongst the best, including my personal favorite, unless something happens to dethrone it. Those are Princess Mononoke, and Spirited Away. Yeah, still excellent. There's a reason they're considered amongst the best.
I don't like Princess Mononoke, but
yeah, that's because you're a terrible human. That's easily my favorite Ghibli. So whatever. I watched My Neighbors the Yamadas, which was probably my least favorite so far. It's not bad. It's just it takes a very different style. It's like a comic strip animated essentially. It's okay. I didn't.
Sounds like a anime version of Cinema Verite, where it's like we're just gonna talk about our neighbors.
Yeah, it's kind of just
right?
it's basically just a story of this one family, and how they're a bit dysfunctional and some comedy elements and such. It's all right. I just I didn't really enjoy it that much compared to the other stuff. But the one that I kind of out of this four that I want to talk about more, because people have heard about Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke plenty, was Whisper of the Heart. This caught me totally off guard and shot to like my second or third favorite Ghibli right now.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, no, but it completely took me off guard because it's not one I've really heard anyone talk about. And I just threw it on because it was the next one. And it opens with the song Country Roads playing. I'm like, okay, I'm getting into this. I like this song.
Country roads, take me home.
I can't never not hear
to the
Merlin singing it.
place where I belong, West Virginia.
Is he done yet?
Copyright strike.
Now who's dragging this out?
Well, no, I mean, look, it's known now for a Scottish, even though the actor's not Scottish, but he did a pretty good job singing it with a Scottish accent, all right?
He did.
So now I proudly will belt out the chorus of that.
Yeah.
Not the West Virginia's in the chorus, but I the bit that sticks out to me, though, what is it? Yeah, it is actually. That is West Virginia's in the chorus. But that's where it sounds the most Scottish, where he says West Virginia really quickly. West Virginia. All right, anyway, go on.
So the movie opens with that song. So I'm like, okay, well, you've got me on board for your first like 30 seconds. Let's, start with a song I like.
As you do.
Turns out the song's actually a key part in that the main character, this is like a high school girl. She's like, I don't know, 15, 16. Is writing lyrics for like graduation ceremony or whatever they're doing. Set to that song, but like slightly different. So there's like this repeated motif throughout the movie of like these different variations upon that song, and it becomes this key element. So that was nice because I like that song, and it was fun seeing all these various versions of the lyrics on it. But the movie's really, it's one of the less fantastical Ghibli movies. It's mostly set in the real world. But the girl in question loves fairy tales. She loves reading all these books about fairy tales and such. But every book she checks out from the local library has been checked out by this one guy before her. And it's annoying her that every time she's beaten to this book by this other guy. And like, even to the point where she finally gets a book that hasn't been, checked out by him, but it was donated by him instead. And she gets really annoyed. And eventually, of course, she ends up finding the guy. It's a like similar aged teenager who is has similar taste to her, unsurprisingly. But there is a fantastically animated, which is very different to the rest of the animation, where it's like this point where she writes her own story, and it kind of shows that this story, and it is this fairy tale. And it's animated so differently, and it's really unique and gorgeous, and the whole movie is captivating. And it really grabbed me as a Ghibli movie, and being a little bit different to a lot of their fantastical ones, but still with a lot of the same kind of themes with the family and the fairy tale fantasy angle, just in a very different way. And I really loved it. I definitely recommend checking that one out if you haven't seen that one.
Okay. The other movie I'm going to talk about, because I only watched two that weren't for review purposes. Like I said, check out Screams After Midnight in the near future for Twilight. But I did watch a film called Blind Woman's Curse, which is a Blu-ray I've had on my shelf for like 7 years. and fairly watched this week, and it was just kind of okay. It was weird in ways that almost got interesting, but it failed to kind of really feel like it connected the story together. It felt like a lot of disconnected stuff. The ending was a bit of a whiff. It's about two gangs in Japan. It's a Japanese movie, if I hadn't mentioned that. And the leader of one of the gangs is a woman who is cursed by a blind woman because she blinded her years and years ago during a gang fight. Honestly, the most interesting thing I can say, outside of the fact that there's a cat going around, seemingly like trying to kill people, with some really funny cat effects to pull that off, where the cat's like flying at the camera and stuff like that. Other than that, the only thing I can say about it is this is a movie that Quentin Tarantino definitely watched at some point. It has like, oh, this is something he watched at 4 a.m. once, written all over it.
I've got one more movie I'd like to touch on that is very much in that category of, hey, a notable director definitely liked this movie.
Other than that, though, I mean, like, I don't really have much to say about it. A couple of quirky, weird moments, but ultimately it never really become. It's not a bad movie necessarily, but it's also not like, good either. I didn't really feel it. So, unfortunately, this is an Arrow Blu-ray release that let me down. It wasn't that exciting.
I mean, Arrow are really not hit and miss in their quality, but they're
choices.
Really, yeah. But what I like about them is they're good at making sure things get a release.
Yeah,
they're good for preservation more than necessarily quality of the movie.
All the movies they put out, they give 110%. And it's notable that some of these movies that I've had on my shelf for a long time are Arrow releases that I never got around to watching, and they've been kind of mixed in quality, to be honest. Obviously, they've got some great ones that they've put out, but yeah.
But I still love them as a company and what they're doing in making sure these movies are seen, that they exist, and that they always, even if it is a mediocre movie, they get the best transfer quality they can.
I'm sure
the effort into it.
There's 12 people somewhere who are like absolutely ecstatic that this movie got a proper 1080p remastered release with extras. They'll be ecstatic that it exists.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not one for me though. So I can be quick with that one. Matt, give us a second.
Yeah. So the other movie I watched was based off of Connor's recommendation, and it was the Leica film from last year, The Missing Link. And yeah, it was completely wonderful.
Oh yeah.
Leica still is yet to let me down. They're a great company. So yeah, it's again, if Primeval is my type of movie, so is this.
It's about pulpy.
Yeah, it's about an adventurer that actually wants to do more scientific type of discoveries to get his name out there, but the old stodgy group that he wants to join, like the club, basically won't let him because they're so conservative that they don't like his newer methods, where he actually wants to interact with the locals and not just take all their resources, and it doesn't sit well with them for change. So they basically let him go off on this wild goose chase where they say, well, if you find the mythical Sasquatch, you can be in. But then they also send a bounty hunter to stop him. So he comes to the States and finds him no problem. And comes to find out that Sasquatch is a very kind-hearted, big goofball of a character that's just really lonely. And he wants to find his cousin. So the only ones he's ever heard about were the Yeti that live in the Himalayas. So the main character, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but it's played by Hugh Jackman, ends up befriending Mr. What do they end up calling him? It's not Mr. Foot.
Mr. Link.
Mr. Link, thank you. They end up befriending Mr. Link and going off on this adventure while being chased by bounty hunters. And it's almost like basically, this is kind of what I wanted the Tintin movie to be. Like, this is like Kids Indiana Jones down to when they travel, it's the main character's hand drawing on a map of where they're going to with a red line, and the character is very much more no nonsense. So he's not like this super pulpy, square-jawed character. He's still a very proper British gentleman who, in the prospecting town in the Pacific Northwest, goes into the saloon and orders a hot Earl Grey tea, and he makes sure he tells them, don't let it steep too long. We want the right type of bouquet.
It's as British as it gets.
Yeah, so very, very enjoyable. I love Leica because it's still stop motion based, although it's not completely stop motion. That they use digital effects to flesh it out, And so if you always stay through the credits, there's always like this little time lapse of the work that it takes. And this one,
So
I feel like with each film they get bigger. I feel like in Coraline, it was more of a set and it was more manageable, right? By this one, it is a full studio set with a like a 3 foot, 4 foot tall elephant that the characters are riding on, and it blows my mind the amount of work that goes into making this type of thing, and we all know that with like the new animated movies that are mostly digital and how long it takes, Pixar and DreamWorks to make it, but like this is a whole different level.
It's amazing how, relatively speaking, how quickly they get these movies out.
Yep. And
given the scale of them and how much work it takes to do stop motion.
And sometimes I question what's stop motion and what's CG, because the stop motion is so crisp and clear and fluid that I'm like, there's no way that scene wasn't CG. And then when you go to look it up, it's like, oh no, that scene took them 14 days to choreograph and shoot and stuff.
I don't think the movie's quite as good as Kubo and the Two Strings, which if you haven't seen the sequence on the ocean that's entirely stop motion is goddamn incredible.
Yeah, so for me, Pixar used to be this where like, what are they going to do in the next one that's going to not break animation, but push it? Like, this is where our levels were, but after this movie, now we can do. So like in Incredibles, it was Wall.
Yeah, that's not really happened in a long time because CG just reached a point where, we're there now.
Right.
And...
Yeah, which is why later the ones kind of at that stage now, aren't they? Where they're like, we can do this with stop motion.
Right, and that's why I like to look that they're finding those boundaries and like, well, how far can we push it? And here, like, the backgrounds are so lush and almost photorealistic, but they're just off slightly to remind you, like, no, this is still an animated movie. And those are all CG. Like when you see the studio when they do that elephant shot, you can see them putting in that effect, and it's just like, it's amazing. So I'm always a fan of the studio that's constantly pushing. Whereas Pixar, because I also watched Inside Out this weekend for the first time since the theater. Couldn't believe that movie's been out for 5 years. Mm-hmm. Like, time flies. I definitely liked it more the second time, but I didn't notice this, but how fuzzy the characters were, right? I didn't notice that at the time. And I don't know if just the advancement in technology. You mean the texture? They're textured. Yeah. Like Joy is like almost buzzing, right? Like she's, whereas, yeah, sure, they might be kicking the technological side, but I feel like Pixar's doubled down more on what they're doing storytelling wise. Like, this is the full range of emotions of a girl heading to her teenage years.
And it's still
and how complex it is. Yeah. And that's cool. They can focus on that. Pixar's still my ride and die. But it's cool to know that Leica's almost picked up their torch technologically. We're going to do it this way. And yeah, so I definitely recommend The Missing Link.
Cool. All right. Good. What was the last one you wanted to mention?
I'll just run through a handful really quickly. I watched The Gentleman. It's a Guy Ritchie movie. What do you want? It's fun.
I'm not being able to find it for the price that I want, but I do want to see it because I keep being told, because I love rock and rolla, and my friend Phil, who also loves Guy Ritchie as much as I do.
God damn it! Shut up. Wait, what's next?
No, that's just it. I need to watch the Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it. This one I watched mainly because I just wanted to tick off, those best of lists and that are around. I watched Goodfellas for the first time. It's fine. It's Goodfellas. I mean, not really my sort of movie. I'm not really big on mobster stuff as a rule.
No,
it's well made. It's good. It's fine. I'll never watch it again.
I'll just say this, and it'll probably be shocking. Goodfellas is better than Godfather. So
I'll find out when I watch those in the next couple of weeks, probably to tick off from again. Well, not my sort of film really, but. Need to tick them off the list.
Yeah, I can't say that. Goodfellas is not Scorsese's best film or even his second best movie. I'll stand by it.
I mean, it's not a bad movie. It's perfectly decent. I get why people like it, but it's not for me.
Hugo's better than Goodfellas. End of discussion. Right?
Oh my god!
Wait, what movie did he say?
He said Hugo's better than Goodfellas.
I haven't seen Hugo either.
Hugo's better than Goodfellas. I'll say it. I love Hugo.
Hugo's very good.
He does. He bats for Hugo all the time.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I get it. It's a very nice love letter to film. But I wouldn't put it. It's not it might be my top 5, but it's not better than Goodfellas.
All right, really quickly running through some of the rest of these. Thoroughbreds from a couple of years ago. Watched it because it was like 90 minutes with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yeah.
And that was all right. It was fine. It was pretty fun. Not a must-watch, but I mean, 90 minutes. Yeah, sure, why not? I watched Blue Ruin.
Mm.
That was pretty solid. I didn't think it was good as Green Room,
No, well,
but I mean, it was pretty good still.
Yeah, it's still super tense.
Yeah, I thought it sagged a
scene where
little
he's-
in the middle.
Yeah, the scene where he's trying to fix himself is so nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought the last act when it got his friend involved was particularly good.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I watched the Final Fantasy 15 movie, Kingsglaive. That kind of is because I'm
that's
planning
where
on
he
playing
knows that
that.
character
I'm
name.
planning on playing that game in the near future, and from what I'm told, this movie is more essential than you would like if you want to appreciate the full story of that game. A lot of the backstory is in this movie.
I'm probably going to play it. I'll tell you right now, I am never watching that movie.
That's fair. The
Yeah.
movie is fine. It's perfectly fine. It's a good voice cast. It's got Aaron Paul in there. It's got Sean Bean. It's got Lena Headey. It's a good voice cast. The movie
Yeah.
is fine.
No Gary Busey
Dude.
though, so Hitman wins.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with that.
So, do they make a movie for each of the final? Because I know there's
No.
a Final Fantasy
Nah.
VII movie. Okay.
No, Final Fantasy 7 has Advent Children, right?
Yeah, but that
Right.
came later. That wasn't like they're made for the game. That was just like, oh,
Mhm.
this
That
is
was an
successful.
expansion on it
Right.
later. Whereas
Okay.
this was a lead-in. It's fine.
Yeah, Final Fantasy
Um,
15 was full marketing, like disgusting. It was like there's a movie, there's an anime, there's a comic, like everything was coming out with the game as if it was
the Star
so-
Wars model.
Yeah,
And like I say, a friend of mine who is big on Final Fantasy games and likes 15 told me this movie is more essential than you would like if you want to appreciate the story. So, screw it, I'll get it done. And the only other one that I've got left that is actually, I think, worth talking about a little bit more is Paprika. This is the anime film from 2006, which very, very, very clearly inspired Christopher Nolan for Inception. Because the point of this movie is about dreams. It's about a device that can access people's dreams and steal inspiration from people's dreams and such. It's very much in this the ideas within dreams becoming these realities, and there's a lot of things about whether or not.
Oh, here's a question. How do you know you've seen it?
Oh, watch this movie and you have no doubt.
Well,
Honestly,
so I wikied it, and it says
honestly.
impact on others. Several critics and scholars have noted that many striking similarities between this and the 2010 movie Inception. So I get it.
Honestly,
but
you watch it, there is absolutely no doubt he has seen this movie.
the other thing is live action adaptation. There's supposed to be one by Wolfgang Peterson that went into development in 2010. However, since then, there's not been any significant update. Yeah, because Chris Nolan scooped him
Did
in
it with
Inception.
Inception? Yeah. Like,
Uh,
I'm not being funny. Like I love Inception. I like Inception more than this movie, and I like this movie a lot.
I'm not trying. That's not a defense. Like I just because it's the same thing with Harlan Ellison. There's like a weird credit in the Terminator because the Terminator in concept is actually close enough to one of his stories that they had to put an acknowledgement. It literally comes up saying, "We acknowledge the works of Harlan Ellison." It doesn't say it is inspired by everything because James Cameron is adamant that he had a dream that inspired the story, and like he's sticking to that to this day.
Right, but is there a thing with him though that maybe he read some Harlan Ellison when he was younger, and maybe it influenced, and he wanted to show his credit?
If he does, I mean, if that happened, and maybe he genuinely doesn't think he did, and whatever. I mean, this is different though, because this was like what 3 years before Inception. There's no way Nolan forgot that he saw this movie.
And I don't know if Nolan's ever acknowledged this or not. I don't know. It's very possible that it's a coincidence. It happens. I get that, but you watch this movie, and you will be convinced there is no way Nolan hasn't seen this movie.
I don't know why, but Nolan strikes me as someone who doesn't watch anime.
Yeah, but maybe his
know,
brother
okay.
did and told him about it.
The main character in this movie is a filmmaker, and there is a whole section about the Academy aspect ratio. Like the character gives a whole speech about that, which makes me
I'm
think.
listening.
Which makes me think Nolan would love this.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Maybe.
Nolan thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's anime, so it's trash. We can move on with it.
No, and like one of this director's other earlier movies, I think it's called Perfect Blue, was very much the inspiration for Black Swan. Aronofsky's more aware. I won't say aware. More open about it in that he actually purchased the rights to remake it, before he made Black Swan, so he was very much aware that there's some similarities here that I want to do this by the book.
That's cool.
I'm planning on watching that soon because apparently that's fantastic as well.
And Paprika was based off of a novel of the same name from 1993. So
yeah, it's been around. It's possible that Nolan maybe read the novel instead of that. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe the idea was there, but either way, if you watch this movie, you will come away from it going, oh, Nolan liked this movie. Like it's that much in it.
But you just admitted he might have heard the idea from the book. So how can you say that
no,
with
okay,
certainty?
I mean, in the sense of this story, this concept.
Pete batting for Chris Stoller like it's his uncle.
I like.
I am not having anyone badmouth in the name of an anime. All right, I'm just not doing it.
I'm not. I love Inception. I like Inception more than this movie, but there's a whole point in this movie of okay, well, what's reality and what's the dream, and whether or not we can get an idea from this.
That's not unique to this in Inception.
No, the ideas from dreams and sharing that as a concept and stealing these ideas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have you never seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors? I don't think you have, right? These are not new ideas.
How is it going to take Pete to watch Paprika?
I haven't seen that, but I know that Freddy's killed 39 people.
But seriously, great movie. And if you are a fan of Inception and you're not inherently opposed to anime like Pete is for whatever goddamn reason, I would recommend checking out Paprika. It's fantastic.
Joseph Fabrice. I remember when Inception came out, I recommended it to someone, and someone said, "Nah, it looks like too much like The Matrix." That was like a response at the time. So there's some people who think Inception is too Matrixy.
Well, I mean, look. We've got a long tradition of stealing from anime, right? Like Matrix is stolen from Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm.
Large parts of it.
Well, inspired. Right.
Well, when I say stolen, I mean it's very. They were fans of this thing, and
but all art's like that.
No, it is, and I'm saying that with Paprika and Inception. I'm not saying Nolan remade it and ripped it off entirely. He definitely liked this idea, this story.
So the reason why Inception is my second favorite Nolan movie after Dark Knight is how much that it's not so much about the movie, but about the theories around the movie. Because I had a friend that we argued about that ending, and we'll still not agree to it because he goes into the credits.
This is going to be a last quick one. I'm
specification. But no, but the fact that this is
as well. But
yeah, but so the fact that Connor is saying this, that this movie is also about a filmmaker lends credence to the idea of Inception's low key about filmmaking. You know, each character plays a part in the movie. You know,
I would say Paprika's more obtuse with what it is in that sense. Inception's more.
I'll put it this way, right?
Subtextual.
Apparently, Rio Bravo actually inspired Assault on Precinct 13, and I can barely see the similarities. So it goes both ways, I suppose. Also, in that case, Assault on Precinct 13 is way better than Rio Bravo.
Well, yeah, it is.
Again, I said I think Inception is better than this movie, but I think it is very clearly inspired by it. That's not a bad thing.
It's anime. It's the disgusting thing to suggest to anyone with any talented filmmaker to suggest they were inspired by anime.
I feel like I'm going to have to draw up a list for Pete for next week.
I'm playing to my character here. I'm fully aware that many directors have been inspired by some anime.
Yeah, I mean, Pete hates on anime. I watch creature movies. We all self-parody at a point.
That's it. I think anime is the type of thing, though, that I can equally buy that half the directors in Hollywood have never watched anime or want to or hate it or whatever.
I think a previous guard, yes, but I think the ones that are more upcoming, anime is just part of pop culture at this point.
I mean, yeah, but I think anime is definitely it's very Marmite with people in general. So I think that directors in Hollywood are probably equally Marmite with anime. I think half of them are inspired by it and half of them will hate it.
You include things as broad as like the Ghibli films, which are
Ghibli's kind of more borderline, but even Ghibli, I find myself struggling to pay attention to half of it. So I mean, a lot of the problems,
the animation style,
a lot of it, I have the same issue with, even though it's not as anime as other things.
Yeah, no, I get it. I feel like that's got a significantly larger audience than a lot of other anime things that we're talking about, where a lot of directors have probably seen a Ghibli movie.
Yeah, probably. But I feel like there'll be a lot of directors who are inspired by some anime stuff, but then there's other directors who I think will hate it with a passion. And which ones are which? Just sometimes it's easy to say because there's some directors who are Matrix is an obvious one. But then there's other times where I don't know, and it's not necessarily that means that the. I mean, I'm not suggesting because I don't like anime that the good directors are the ones who aren't inspired by it.
Yeah.
Because alternatively, I'm pretty sure Michael Bay has never seen anime in his life, and I'm not vouching for Michael Bay movies here. These are not directly connected things by any means. Anyway, so yes. Let's move on.
For the record, I tried to get through those as quickly as I could.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all Matt's fault.
Always, I talk. I'm a talker. We know this.
What's left? We'll do a very quick video games. Very, very quick. I'll just say that I have continued on both Final Fantasy VII Remake and XCOM Chimera Squad. Chimera Squad, I'm over 2/3 through. I finished the first faction, done the second faction. What's interesting about that game is that I should have started on at least hard because normal has proven to be quite easy. I apparently picked the faction that's the easiest one to deal with. Now, don't get me wrong, they are designed so you can pick whichever one in any order, because when I got to picking the second one after I'd finished the first one, there was notes on both of them saying, oh, they've upgraded their, the squads and stuff, so you get like a harder version because you're doing them second, which makes sense. But apparently when I picked was the hardest one, but outside of the actual final mission, which was a bit tough, like the rest of it wasn't that bad. So
yeah, I spoke to you about this before you started, that some reviews had said it was easier than you'd expect.
I'm having a really easy time now that I'm doing the other ones now after already upgrading my squad. So now it's like, oh, okay. Now I'm just cakewalking through the whole thing. But it's also so far into it that I don't want to just start again on hard. So that's the only issue I have with it. The actual game is pretty fun. For $10, really good.
So I thought I was close to everything on Fallen Order. And then when I went out and saw the trophies thing, it says completion. It says only 50%. And I was like, no. And I was like, this is what happens when I miss video games. When you think you're almost there, like,
and then you went through it.
Yeah, well, because I'm going back through Fallen Order right now. I'm picking up like.
That's all if you want 100% it though. That's not.
Yeah, but even then, I have like 96% on one planet, 80 on another, and like 80 on the. So I'm very close.
Like doing certain events, like force grabbing this many people.
Right. Which, let me just tell you, Connor, that game, once you're all souped up and going back through the levels, and I know you said you didn't do it, that game is much more fun as a full-on Jedi. Because just picking up the dudes, then like freezing them, then picking them up and putting them into their own blaster fire.
One of my favorite things to do.
It's just so much better. But like
it never gets old.
I went through, but I also started God of War 4, but I'm literally 4 minutes in. Like all I've done is pilot the boat because my buddy came over to try to fix something at my house. So I'll get back to it because that game already is way more cinematic than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah,
the main menu opens on the tree, right?
God of War, and you can tell this. You can tell that they were looking at what Naughty Dog was doing and said, "We want to do a game that's more like that."
Yeah, they did it better.
I wouldn't say that, but they basically said the two main inspirations were Last of Us and Resident Evil 4, and you can feel that when you're playing that game.
It's a great game.
I already do like too that the save feature, I can just save wherever I'm at, and it might cut me back to things.
Kind of most games now.
Well, again, so like with Spider-Man and Fallen Order, you had to get to certain points that would allow you to save. Which,
I'd say those are in the minority.
Yeah, but being away from games for so long, I thought that became the new. That's how games were, and it's an annoyance of Ash when I'm like, I need to get to a save.
Spider-Man having to wait to save.
Yeah, I remember having to get to certain points before I could save it.
I mean, if you're doing a story mission, like it's auto saving at every checkpoint anyway. You don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Spider-Man's not a game I think of like, no. Oh, you have to get to a point to save it.
Well, I just remember not doing it at one point and having to redo a thing again. So it got into my head. If I don't want to redo it, I have to get to a checkpoint. Yeah, before I shut it off.
The checkpoints are so close together that I don't think it's like a.
Well, no, it's not like Fallen Order.
I'll give you a story about save points in a minute. Don't worry.
Anyway, so the Final Fantasy VII, I actually put
chapter 9 yet?
Well, I'm near the end of chapter 9. It sounds like I've not done much since last week because I was on chapter 8 last week. But here's the thing: it's still like 6-7 hours of game time. So
chapter 9 is a side quest chapter.
So it's chapter 8.
Yeah, but there's more in chapter 9.
Oh, there's not. There's less. It's half as many side quests.
They're longer ones then, for sure, because there's definitely more meaty side quests in.
I literally just did it. Let me explain. Right, so stop trying. protect what I'm about to say. So, Chapter 8 has 6 side quests. You do a bunch of stuff, you do some mini games, whatever. Chapter 9 has a lot of main story stuff before the side quests open up, because I got to the point where I thought I was about to go and do the last part of the chapter, because I'd finished the Column C and stuff, which is like all these fights you do to win a competition.
With the house.
With the house, yes. And I thought, oh, I'll just finish out the rest of the chapter. But then it opened up some side quests, and I'm like, oh wait, the side quest before I finish the chapter. All right, fine. You know what? I'll stop here. So that's where I am just now. But I've done all the stuff. You go get the massage, and there's other things, and you're in the wall market, and all the rest of it.
Which massage did you choose?
Oh, I got the premium one.
Okay. You might have different quests to me depending on what other events you do.
Okay.
Because there's different side quests at this point, and that's why I say there's a few here.
I will say this, Matt. When you get
you have to pick different massages.
When you get the hand massage, it's very suggestive. Yeah. The camera sort of slowly backs away and fades to black as you hear Cloud going, Yeah. He's making all sorts of pleasure noises.
By the end of it, he was very happy.
Oh yeah. He comes out and he's like,
"That was the best
thing
weird
in my life."
About that section is that right after that, for like 10 seconds until you trigger the next dialogue option, you play as Aerith. It switches to Aerith for control for like 10 seconds for no reason. And the only real suggestion is that Cloud is so out of it that you're like, no, you can't control him. He's too busy leaning against the wall. You have to control her to trigger the next.
That's a good massage. Let's be real.
Yeah.
But yeah. So. No, the game's still fun. I'm enjoying the combat. The main characters are most likable. Cloud's by far the worst one.
In its defense, pretty sure that's by intention.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, the reason why I don't like him though is because he's a little anime shit. But what I did like is, I mean, I thought the start of Chapter 9 was a little bit annoying. Because you're going through like the sort of tunnel with the robotic arms to get to the next section.
That's the worst puzzle bit of the game.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit tedious. But there was one joke at the end of that. There's like a sort of running gag throughout that where she keeps wanting to high five her, and he keeps not doing it. I do love that eventually, when you get a prompt to high five her, you have to hold it in for ages, and his hand slowly rises because he's really hesitant.
And he just holds it there, and she's like, "Oh, now you wanted to high five? Sorry."
Yeah. Also, there's a bit where someone like badmouths her and says she should maybe look nice when she cleans up a bit, and she turns to Cloud and goes, "Cloud, permission to kill," which was really kind of like not out of a character because it worked for a sense of humor, but
adorable funny.
Yeah. So that was kind of funny. That said, though, I'm Team Tifa, so just FYI.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I remember getting attached to Tifa because she punches things. Like that's her weapon, and I love it.
I tweeted this week, and Pete hasn't got to yet, but the best thing about Final Fantasy VII Remake by far is any time that Aerith and Tifa are together. Like, hands down, that is the best bits of that game.
Jen Bartel would agree too, because that's been all over her Twitter feed.
It is every interaction they have is fantastic.
Yeah.
So good.
So there you go. The only thing I want to mention with games otherwise is that that's why I mentioned I got my new monitor, right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it has a very specific gaming feature that I've never experienced before. It's 144 hertz, and it has what's called FreeSync, which if you play games on PC, you'll know what VSync is, and you'll have to turn it on if you don't have a newer monitor. And this is basically a monitor refresh rate sort of technology that lets it sort of run smoothly no matter how much the frame rate's changing.
It basically, it matches the frame rate so it doesn't tear. So VSync locks it at either 30 or 60, depending on what your refresh rate of your monitor is. Or
potentially 120 if you've got one that's looking up that high.
Depending on what your monitor is. And it locks it at that so that it's stable. And whereas if you don't, you might be at 65 and then drop to 60, which doesn't sound that bad, but it creates a noticeable tearing effect, usually at the top or bottom of the screen.
And the thing is because like your older monitors only go up to 60 hertz, which is 60 frames per second, you don't really feel the benefit of being higher anyway. Whereas because I got a 144 frames monitor, which are a lot more affordable now, and I got a higher resolution too, so it looks great too. But so I tested some games out that I'm used to with this new refresh rate, and I don't have the graphics card yet to really push ridiculous frame rate. Although I did put on Alien Isolation, which is from 2014, which I was running at like 140 frames because I wanted to see what it felt like. Yeah. And it does feel different. Like it feels really, really responsive and like smooth and buttery. and it feels like, I don't know, like I'm a little bit worried that when the PS5 comes out and I play exclusives on that, I'm going to be like, this doesn't feel as good. Why does this not feel as good?
Probably, yeah. I just to say what the difference between VSync and G-Sync is. Whereas VSync syncs your game's performance to your monitor, so it syncs the game to 60 or 30 or 120, whatever that may be. So it locks it at that. And G-Sync does the opposite, where it locks your monitor to whatever the game is doing. So if the monitor's at 65, no, if the game's at 65, the monitor's at 65. If the game goes up to 80, the monitor will move up to 80, and it'll match it that way.
I got one that's FreeSync, which is AMD's technology, but that's open source, and you can run G-Sync compatible graphics cards with it, and it'll work.
Good, because I was never sure about that. They're always a little unclear.
There's I mean, I would definitely look at reviews to see if it's what, because there's like a 1% of like the monitors that technically will have some issues with it, but for the most part, they're completely adaptable.
Because Nvidia has their own called G-Sync, which is exclusive just to their cards,
and it costs a lot more to get a monitor with G-Sync because it's proprietary.
Yeah.
What the hell's that noise, Matt?
My dog's. I think Ash just home.
No,
it's a tech
noise. Tech thing.
Gotcha.
Unplug your
Is
mic.
that my dog's barking?
Yeah, it's
Is it
on
me?
the phone. Yeah, it's you. You got it?
Yeah. Continue speaking, Carter, while he's fixing.
Yeah. So as for me, the only game I've really played is Yakuza 0. I actually finished it last night, and by last night I mean very early this morning, because I'll talk about one of the side quests that I particularly want to talk about in a second. But oh boy, the ending of that game is long. Because it goes, okay, you're gonna go into the final section now. There's no coming back to the city. And I did this at about 3:30 last night with the intention of playing till 4:30, which is kind of what I've been doing lately. Well, that's fine. There's no goddamn save points in that final section. 2.5 hours of fights, and then 3 boss fights in a row, multiple characters that you jump bang for, nothing, no save point whatsoever. So I had to just get through it all, finish the final boss, 40 goddamn minutes of cutscenes, then the credits, and then another cutscene at the end of the credits. It's like, god damn it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was really good. I enjoyed every second of it, but I was tired and I wanted to finish. I just wanted a save point about an hour earlier. It was very frustrating that I couldn't. But one of the side quests that I particularly want to mention that I really enjoy, there's a lot of enjoyable side quests, because like I said last week, the game, proper like crime mafia, like mob story, what you expect, lots of twists and elements. Very impressive how it actually, towards the end of the game, manages to actually get emotion out of it. Like, I didn't think it was going to. I didn't think I cared, and then then it does a scene, and I'm like, I actually give a shit. This care, I care about this now. So that caught me off guard. That was impressive. One of the side quests that really stood out to me was helping a director. I helped there's a director, and there's like, hey, can you come and shoot this music video? We need help organizing it, and sorting it out. He's a bit of a diva. You come and help us out. So you go there and you meet the director, one Steven Spining, with such recent hits as A.T. and Indiana Jean. And would you like to help him shoot this new music video for this pop star Miracle Johnson, who is definitely not Michael Jackson?
Yeah. He's not moonwalking. He's sun running.
He absolutely moonwalks into the room, and
that's great.
And then his video that he wants to film is Michael Jackson wants to film a video where zombies come and attack him, but he doesn't want he doesn't want the zombies to fake it and look like they're not doing it, because he wants to go 110%. He wants to make this look real. Damn it, the zombies got to look like they're coming for him. So you've got to be his bodyguard and escort him while he moonwalks and dances down the street. You've got to fight off the zombies, extras from attacking him. It's fantastic. That is the best I can describe as this complete dichotomy of what this game is, where you have not Steven Spielberg directing, not Michael Jackson from not fake zombies in this music video, to then this ultra serious mob story, and then you get to recruit Steven Spielberg to be a manager in your real estate business later on. It's great. I love it. It was a fantastic game. I might play something else before I play Kiwami. Not sure yet. I might also go back on and finish off some of the real estate things because I got quite into that. I got really addictive buying the buildings in the various sections and then running back. And yeah, no, it's a fantastic game. It's actually on sale on PS4 right now in their Big in Japan sale. If you've got that, so I recommend it. If not, it's on Game Pass if you're on Xbox or PC.
Okay, all right. We'll move on then to the final part of the show, I think, which is Patreon books and stuff like that. I've got one that I did that was bought through a stream. Connor's got a makeup one for last month.
Yes.
Not his fault, admittedly, because the book that was picked wasn't available in Comixology or anywhere else that was accessible. So I'll let Connor go first. You're going to do Severed Issue 1, which was Tyler's Patreon pick. Everyone to patreon.com/MailFistTV. There's a tier in Patreon where you can make me or Connor read a book on the show. And Tyler decided to be merciful and give Connor a good book when he almost gave him one of the worst looking books ever. But he gave him Severed Issue 1 instead.
Yeah, this is Scott Snyder and Scott Tuft on writing and art by Attila Futaki. I've read this before. I've read the trade about, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe. It was a long time ago. And I remember loving it. But obviously I read it just as one trade. So this was a new experience for me. This is a horror book, I say, from Snyder earlier in his career. He was, I mean, not so early. He'd been doing Batman. He'd got American Vampire underway. But then this was like his first non-DC or Vertigo thing. So it's a little bit different. The book opens in the 50s, maybe. And it's this grandfather and his son. And they're talking about things. And, his son, the grandson, comes in. It's like, hey, I got this letter, this note. This guy gave it to me and said to pass it along to you. And he's like, what is it? He's like, no, not a stranger. Not from the stranger. It's from an old friend of yours, he said. And he looks at this letter and he goes, oh, God. And then, he goes, I tell people I lost my arm in the war. Even my wife doesn't know the truth. But sometimes the truth is just too horrible. And then we cut back 40-odd years to 1916. To Jack, our main character here, as a younger boy. He's probably in his early teens, and he plays the viola. And this is a big part because his whole thing here is for like 5 or 6 pages is he kind of wants to he's talking to his mom. There's a lot of banter. He wants to run off, just be a hobo and play the viola and live off that.
As you do.
Yeah, and it's lighthearted banter, and his mom's like, yeah, we'll go to school and. I can't wait to tell the ladies at the club that my son's a bona fide hobo. You'll be so proud. You'll be so proud. Passing around the moonshine around a fire. It's all this really natural banter that I feel like a lot of comics and TV miss with teenagers and their parents. Actually, they often fall into that trap of just being angry at each other. But this is this really natural banter. And then it turns out, no, he was actually being serious, and he runs away at night, in the middle of the night, and jumps on a train. And this is actually well, the issue actually cuts away for a large portion, and talks about how it starts by his nightmare was just beginning, but for another boy it was happening right now, and we cut to this orphanage in a completely different state, I think. Where this guy who works for General Electric comes and picks up this orphan. It's like, hey, you're going to come work for us now because, why not? You've been selected. We pick up one every so often. And it takes him out to this house. So, well, we're gonna have to practice in a fake house first. We can't have you in a house that people live in doing electrical stuff. That would be terrible. But this guy is really, he's got this sinister attitude, and there's a lot of like. Really dark undercurrent tones where he talks about behind these pearly whites I got razor sharp teeth, and the razor sharp teeth is bolded just to give you this clue of where this is going. But there's he sends the boy into the house. Basically, he gives him jump cables and he's teaching them, hey, we're positive to negative, don't touch them together or you'll fry us both, whatever. Just go down, find the box, hook them up, no problem. And the kid's like, hey, it's dark down here. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the point. That's why we're here. So, a little banter like that. But as for the kids run in, he pops out his teeth. And he's obviously got these fake teeth and he pops them in a box. And it's like, well, that's kind of unusual, but you don't see what's there just yet. And we see the rest of this story with the boy in the house. This is actually, we cut back to the end of the issue. We've got some more stuff with Jack, but he's down there kind of rumbling around the dark, trying to find the box to hook things up. And he's like, hey, I got it. And then the guy shows up and he's got very vampire looking teeth, but not just the fangs, like all of them are incredibly sharp. And that's actually the cliffhanger for the issue. This guy about to very clearly eat this young child. And it's very sinister looking. Jack has a little bit more where he's on the train. Basically, his mum files a report going, hey, he's missing. She goes and talks to the local police and says, hey, he's missing. They're like, okay, well, where's the father? And she goes, well, I don't know. My husband passed away before Jack was born. Jack's actually an orphan. I adopted him, but there's never been any contact. And there's a really nice segue here where that never been any contact segues into Jack reading a letter from his dad. He's like, hey, you're old enough to come travel the world. Come out and see me in Chicago. I'll be waiting. So that's why he's jumped on the train. But as he does, a guy who's on the train says, hey, this is my train. I'm going to cut it short, and throws him out. And he grabs on to one of the like a ladder sticking off the side, and is hanging on. And he gets rescued by some people in another cab. But he doesn't have any money left. He's lost his viola in the bit with the guy who just robbed him and threw him out the train. So he's got nothing now, and that's where we leave him, just off on his journey with absolutely nothing. And the other kid about to be eaten by Mr. Porter, the guy who is the vampiric teeth. There's such an atmosphere to this book, though. The artist, it's such an interesting shift because this artist, before this, did the Percy Jackson adaptation, which I think was interesting. We spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you can picture this art being very suitable for that Greek mythology angle. But here, it's just a lot darker, a lot of really heavily shaded figures, like Mr. Porter, this evil demonic figure. He wears a hat, and it's always really shadowy over his face. Just this grin occasionally peeking out. Lots of stuff at night. It's creepy trees. It's a gorgeous book. It's excellently paced. This is a great first issue that really introduces Jack as our main character who's going to be going forward, and we're going to follow his journey, but also introduces the threat through this other boy, and kind of seeing what he's going to come up against and what he's going to come to without obviously having to have that meeting immediately. A really solid first issue. Give it an 8.
I remember liking this first issue because I have read the first issue of this way back when it came out in 2011. Well, I don't know what happened at the time, but why I didn't finish it.
It's interesting that it's 7 issues as well instead of the usual 6.
Mapped it out and decided this was the best format for it. I don't know, but there you go. So I've got one. I have Telos #1. Thanks for that, David. Written by Jeff King, art by Carlo Pugilane. This came out of Convergence, and what's going on in this book? Who's this character? What's happening? Beats the shit out of me. I have no idea. Basically, whoever this Telos is, he's mad. He's coming for Brainiac. He's pissed. He blames Brainiac for not having his family, and Brainiac, tries to talk him down. Telos is smashing his bots and everything else. He's invading into his main ship, and ultimately the issue is about him wanting to kill Brainiac, and Brainiac trying to make him a deal because he wants Telos to go down to Kolu and deal the person in charge in Kolu. He wants to be taken down. He wants to overthrow him, and there's like a resistance on Kolu, and he wants Telos to go down and help with that. This much I figured out based on the dialogue and based on what was going on. There's definitely elements to this. I mean, I don't really know who this guy in charge is in Kolu, if this is like an old DC character or whatever. There's some backstory here, which it even says at one point, see Convergence issue 8. No thank you.
Don't do that.
But about how Brainiac sent Telos to this part of space saying that his family would be there, his wife and kids, and he went there and there was just nothing. It was just space. His calculation was off. I mean, it was a relatively quick read, I guess, because a lot of it was just smashing and fighting through robots and stuff. It wasn't overly wordy, I'll give it that. It was like a sort of typical amount of, the density of text was about on par for a modern comic book. So I'll give it that much. Once it went down to Kolu though, and there's this weird firehead-looking emperor dude. Like I mean, I don't know who this is. I don't know what's going on. And the fact is that Brainiac's trying to explain what's happened and why he did what he did, and the art's okay. Piggy Lane's a fine artist,
I've liked him on many a thing over the last few years.
Yeah,
Destro.
There's no. Like I say, I have no context for who this is. This is supposed to be an issue 1, and I get that it's spinning out of something, but there really is no attempt to give me any context of who this is.
It's always really annoying where if you put an issue 1, even if it's spinning out of something, you should make it function as an
from the pages
right?
of Convergence.
Yeah,
Telos.
But you should make it function that, hey, if you didn't read the other thing, this still works.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, so it was a really mind-boggling read. There was not a lot of context for what's going on, and it has one of the lamest kind of like weird little twists. So Brainiac explains that he has to go and help this leader of the Resurgence down below, this woman, and he's not happy about it. And he's like, well, what's to stop me from just siding with the Emperor, dude, and like going against you? He's like, well, you could, but like I actually have a chance of making you find your family again. She's in one of the many bottled universes or whatever that I had, and you'll find her again, but you'll only do that through me. And he wants Telos to give him a part of his power back because Brainiac's not at full power, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do that, so we're going to have to do it this way then. Because Brainiac said, if you just give me my full power, I could fix this right now. But he doesn't trust him because Brainiac's done him dirty. And sure enough, he's still doing him dirty because after he leaves, the final page of the issue is Brainiac talking to some mysterious face on the planet. Says, I am delivering Telos as promised. Remember our deal. So, lo and behold, Brainiac's being a villain, and he's already setting him up to be double-crossed.
Shocking.
Yeah, absolutely diabolical. There's not a whole lot of structure to this book. The first half, like I say, is just like fighting through robots as there's like yelling about Brainiac, I'm coming for you. But honestly, it's it's not the worst issue of anything I've ever read by any means. It's just there's a lack of context, and obviously I'm not invested in whoever Telos is. His design doesn't exactly fill me with that much interest either. And the fact that he's got Brainiac kind of cowering before him. I mean, they do explain afterwards that Brainiac's not at full strength, but it does feel a bit odd in the context of Brainiac being Brainiac, because, he's a pretty tough dude. So, Brainiac, does always come across as this kind of guy who's not, or I say guy, using that term loosely, who's not really scared of anything. He's always kind of thinking ahead. He makes me think of an AI in a classic, and he is, partially, like, computerized, but, it's interesting. But yeah, so having him just sort of cover between, below this guy, as if he's actually scared of him, that doesn't exactly, as a reader who's not, you've not introduced me to who this character is, so just immediately showing Brainiac being scared of him, doesn't make me like him. It makes me go, oh, why is Brainiac being fed to this new character? This is, like, it makes me think of John Cena. This guy's John Cena, and Brainiac's being fed to him. I don't like it.
Right. And not the fun John Cena that was doing the U.S. title challenges and getting good matches. This is like, if Cena wins, we riot. Cena, right?
Yeah. So, that's what it is. But, yeah. And that's Telos issue 1. I mean, if I was to give it something, I'd probably give it like a 4.5. Like, it's not complete garbage, but it doesn't do anything to draw me in as an issue 1. And I don't think spinning out of another comic, like, it should still at least, I don't know, like, have just a bit of narration at the start that explains what happened to Telos and why he's angry. It would be nice. It just starts with him already coming for Brainiac. It genuinely feels like it's not an issue 1. It feels like issue 3, at least, of something. So
that's always frustrating.
But yeah, so thanks for that, David. But there you go. That is the Patreon books for the week. I do have more. David has more for me to read. I'll do one of those next week. Now, so we are back to some normal comics next week. Not a lot of them, admittedly, so it's still going to be kind of a weird show, but it will be comics from the multiverse. We will probably still talk about other comics we're reading, to give that some extra material, because we're all kind of doing that just now anyway.
Do you want the list of what's coming out next week?
I've got the list here.
Okay.
I was prepared.
Get you.
So, so we'll have Cuts from the Multiverse, episode 201, but there'll still be some other non-DC talk, but mostly just comic books. We'll sort of, dial back on movies and video games and stuff like that, because it is comics from the multiverse again. And who knows, maybe if we like a little Marvel talk at some point, maybe that'll be a thing that'll stick around if we all keep reading stuff. But certainly not the main focus of the show. But what is coming next week? Released on the 5th of May, this is. We have Batman The Outsiders number 12. We have... I'm just skipping the trades and stuff. The Flash 753. We have Green Lantern Season 2, Issue 3. Hawkman 23. House of Whispers Issue 20 is out. Joker Harley Criminal Sanity number 4 is out.
Yeah,
And that's it, yeah. So not a lot of books. I think between us, there's like 4 that we'll be talking about next week.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. I'll probably read some more Immortal Hulk. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe you guys will. I'll do more All New Wolverine. Have a little update on that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll probably take a few questions too. But that'll be the show next week. So we actually have some comics back, which is exciting. Even if it is such a small amount. But you know what? I'm pumped for a couple of these
new
books.
Comics. Yeah, buddy.
So
yeah, Hawkman, Matt. We got Hawkman next week.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited.
yeah, I'm not fussed about that, and I'm not looking forward to Flash.
Of course.
I'm
not reading Flash. Flash is dead to me right now.
Pete, you're on your own, Flash.
I'll do it. I'll suffer through it, but I'm not looking forward to
do it.
it.
I'll read Flash. I'm crazy.
Yeah,
that's what the energy was.
But I am looking forward to Outsiders and Criminal Sanity.
Yep.
Happily.
And Hawkman, I'm so stoked.
So hey, that is what's coming next week. Of course, you can let us know what you think in the comments below. I didn't mention Patreon earlier. Normally I do that. Actually, no. I always mean to do it in the middle, but I always forget. But thank you to our Patreon producers for the month. That's David Short, Tyler Hess, Alison Fordyce, and Cindy Palacios. I did that without my note in front of me, so it was a different order. But I did remember them all without thinking about it too hard. So thank you to you guys. They're all Patreon producers. That means they're patrons at the $20 and up. But you don't have to be a patron at that tier. You can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your troubles. $5 tiers where you get a lot of the stuff for the Comic Podcast. You get all the Multiverse shows, including comics, including previously. Obviously, previously went up this week, so you can check out that if you haven't already. But they all go up a day early at the $5 tier, and you get to vote fairly frequently on books that we'll do previously. Because we're doing it more weekly now, although we did skip 1 week this past month, but mostly weekly, we're getting through those Patreon pick books a little bit quicker, so the votes are a bit more frequent. There was one that just finished. We're going to be doing Shazam: The New Beginning to replace Superman Emperor Joker, which I can't wait for because it means Emperor Joker will be over.
Oh, God.
Because it's really bad. But, you can do that at the $5 tier. But there's other stuff as well, and like I say, the higher tiers you can make me and Connor read a book if you want, or whatever. But go have a look at Patreon. You can also support us in other ways for free, of course, by rating the podcast on Apple Podcasts, give us a review. It helps us out a lot. Like, subscribe, comment on YouTube, all those things. All of it does to help. You'll notice that the show is in 1080p on YouTube going forward. It was in 720p for the first 200 episodes, but 201 onwards is the 1080p era.
That time.
Yeah. And maybe in 5 years' time we'll eventually be in 4K. But for now, 1080p. Which, to be honest, for our faces, talking is, I think, more than sufficient. But hey, that is all that. So yeah, check out all the Mailfuzz TV stuff. I stream often. We have movie podcast. I do with Tim Streams After Midnight. With Tara, I do the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Me and Cara review TV shows. A bunch of fun stuff. There's a couple of new perks for Patreon that I've got ideas for that I've not discussed with the others yet, but they're coming. Connor's making eyes because he's worried.
Well, yeah, they're coming pending our approval.
Honestly, they could happen with or without Car's approval, really. He doesn't have to be involved. But, yes. Anyway, but that is us, so thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm just trying to remember if I missed anything that I usually do. I don't think so. But that's us. I'm really hungry, so I'm going to go. I've actually ordered food. I ordered food when Connor was talking about his Patreon book.
I haven't yet. I'm waiting to order soon.
Because I'm smart like that. But thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Hopefully you've enjoyed us trying to come up with something entertaining when there's been no comic books over the last 5 episodes of quarantine. But we are back to some normality next week, and it seems to be more normal by the week as we go from there, looking at the schedule. So thank you once again. We always appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics and filling time in the quarantine. And always remember to always remember that Gary Busey was prestigious enough to be in Hitman.